Hello and welcome to episode 96 of the SheGulls podcast, powered by Albion Obsessed, the one and only podcast dedicated to FA Cup final appearing Brighton and Hove Albion women's football team. We're going to Wembley. I'm your host, Duncan, and I'm joined today by fellow Albion fans, Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Duncan.
By Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Duncan. We're all moving around.
And by Abby. Hello, Abby.
Hello,
I'm shifting you all
Always
round
just
to
shift-
irregular
Back in
positions.
our normal
Yes.
spaces, I felt a little
Exactly.
bit like I was the mother in the Brady Bunch for a minute. I'm far too young for that.
You're going all over the place. Yes. Well, you know, we're very resistant to change, us British. So yes, I do like to have everyone in their place. I know where to look and everything, so that's good. Yes, and where shall we look in 3 weeks' time? Oh, I don't know, maybe Wembley or somewhere around that vicinity. You might see us sat waiting for the Albion to start their FA Cup final against Manchester City. You know, you might see it.
Yep.
There we go. That's what we're obviously going to talk about. That's the big news. So we're going to talk about that up front, and then we might talk a little bit about Arsenal. You know, I can't vaguely remember that somewhere along the line back in the day. And obviously we'll talk about the upcoming game with Spurs. But I think we should make haste to the topic of conversation. That is, we are going to Wembley.
Yay.
Hooray! Wembley. We're the famous Brighton of Albion and we're going to Wembley. I think I must have said the word Wembley more in the last 24 hours than probably,
Yeah.
I think ever, probably in the history of known to humanity.
It is a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
It is. It's a good word though. I like it though. It rolls off the tongue. Wembley. Yeah. Not so much the place, the stadium. The place is, yeah, it's okay.
It's improved.
It's improved. Yeah. It's not an okay Weatherspoons if you're into that nearish the
No.
stadium. Other than that, there's Wembley Arena.
When it gets an ivy, then I'll be more interested.
Then you'll be
in it.
more
Quite
inclined.
frankly,
Well,
Weatherspoons doesn't do it for me.
Basically, if there's no Ivy, there's no Claire.
It's not for me.
So yes. So maybe perhaps stadiums should get. Maybe that's what we could suggest for the new Brighton Hove Albion Women's Stadium.
Go up market,
Built-in ivy.
Put a Waitrose on the corner and an ivy on the other corner, and I'm there.
Lovely.
If you chuck in Marks and Spencers, I'm gonna pee my pants. I mean, you know.
I mean, surely they're taking fan suggestions for what they want in the stadium.
They should. They might get my suggestions whether they want them or not. So
yeah.
Didn't we have a game this weekend?
We did.
No.
We did.
It's had a drag
Funnily
in the
enough.
park, but I'm really excited and I want to talk about it. I don't give a.
Well, I'm really excited about going to Wembley, aren't you, Ben?
Sorry?
Are you excited about going to Wembley?
I'm very excited about going to Wembley. But
There we go.
You know,
We're getting to the game. We're getting to the game.
The game was closer to me than Wembley is. So, you know.
True.
Oh,
Very true.
not geographically.
Yes. Well, might as well start with Ben. He's eager to crack on and talk about the game. So yes, yesterday, 3-2 victory against Liverpool. Up in not in Liverpool, as is quite often the case, in St Helens.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a place? That is a place, isn't
It
it?
is.
I haven't made that up.
Yes,
For a second, I thought it was like Arsenal, where it's not actually a place, but they're just called that.
No, it's definitely a place. I snogged a soldier there once.
Ooh.
Or from there.
Ooh.
Just the once. Don't get excited, boys. It's what put me off.
That tells you a lot about the makeup of this podcast. That basically Claire said something about snogging a soldier, and all three of the remainder of us went, "Oh!"
Back to the game.
Back to the game.
Just
So
see
Ben,
how long I can keep it going so that Ben gets really annoyed with us.
Ben, take it away.
Oh.
The game.
What
Tell
a
us your
day.
thoughts.
A long day, but what a day. I mean, it was, obviously, the early start, but then the early kickoff because it was 12:15, wasn't it? But it was, they don't make it easy for us, do they? 2-0 down within 22 minutes. But I think there was only that point between Beata Olsen getting their second goal and then sort of 90 seconds later, Manu got one back. I think those 90 seconds were the only point where I didn't think we were going to win. Because I think, I mean, yeah, we should have won because we're the team in form and we're better than them, blah, 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 blah. But we were a bit of a mess. And things just, I started, jumping there with Dario changed the formation. And we looked at it, obviously, because it was Manu and Moeka and Caitlin, the back three. And then we assumed it was going to be Charlie Rule on the right and Moelis Lagers on the left because they were in the selection. But for some reason, there was a reason, but he put Moelis Lagers in the middle. And so we basically effectively had a back four. And it just, I don't know if it was nerves, but sort of just things where balls were given away. And we had a couple of good chances in the early stages, but just couldn't string things together. And Liverpool obviously were playing their usual high energy press. And and suddenly they scored. And then 10 minutes later they scored again. But then, like I say, Manu got that one back, and it was sort of phew, it's only 2-1 now. I think we're still on course. And the second half they came out. We wondered if they'd move Mo to the left again, but kept it as was. But basically, they played really, really, really well. We basically won. Except, again, they don't make it easy for us. There we are preparing for extra time. And up steps Nadine Nordam, 95th minute, and hammers it into the top corner. And
Definition of
erupted.
touch,
And as you can possibly tell from my voice, it was quite well received, that, Nadine. Well done.
Yeah, we're all a bit croaky. We're all a bit.
Yeah.
We're not as bad as some though. I think
there's worse casualties.
Our good friend Jo Davis, who a lot of you will know, she was on the radio this morning, and goodness me, croaky doesn't even begin to cover it. So we had OB, other Ben, who I think is listening. He had laryngitis the other week, and then we've got Joe, who you can't hardly hear. So we're all needing to, we've got Spurs coming up on the weekend, which we'll talk about later. But we need to
lozenges for you all.
Yeah, we all need to be coaching our voices, to in the build up to that. But yeah, you spoke about Marissa, obviously that sort of tactical change, which I don't think really worked like they were hoping it was going to. I think a lot of that, I think it was a mixture of nerves and also some unfamiliarity with who the person next to them was, because instead of it being the kind of usual, Fran knows Kiko's out to her right and so on and so forth, there was a little bit of like, oh, so-and-so will be running there in a minute, and then that person wasn't running there, or they'd run there earlier, or whatever it may be. It was a bit disjointed.
Yeah.
And then I think in the second half, obviously we got better as a team. And I think when you improve as a team, as a unit, then sometimes pieces start to click a little bit more because it's not so highlighted as it is when you're not playing well. But also I think they started to keep it a little bit simpler.
Yeah, I think we stretched the game a bit as well. I think certainly in the first half they were almost getting in each other's way at certain times. It was so crowded in almost everybody in the centre circle at one point.
They were almost as confused as we were, I think, by it.
But once we got in the ascendancy, I think the game was spread out. Obviously, much more of it was in Liverpool's half, quite consistently, and so there was more space for everybody, so everybody could sort of get on with it and not be in each other's way. So it's sort of, and I think the nerves calmed as well. So then it was an amazing second half.
Yeah, absolutely. Abby, do you want to go next? Give us your thoughts on the game. How did you find it? Were you still keeping the faith at 2-0 down?
Well, very funnily, because as many people know, yesterday was my wedding anniversary, 18 years, and I was given permission to go. And at 2-1 down, I did text my wife, and I'm like, I'm not sure I made the right decision to come here. I'm feeling very uneasy.
A bit of a mea culpa.
And then I didn't really think about her until the very end of the game when we were getting back on the coaches. Love you, darling, if you're listening. But there was a moment where it was just like, oh, we've just scored, but are we playing well enough to get this back? Or is this going to be one of those games where we do all the running in the second half and just miss out? And I think when the second goal went in, that's when I knew we were going to win. Although, even then, I couldn't stand up to watch because my legs were shaking. So I was very. There were people up and around and being very excited. I could not stand up because my legs weren't working, and I was like, "Oh, please, girls, can we just do this in regular?" Because I was also then working out: if we go into extra time, am I going to be late to get home? And it was all of that. So there were definitely some dicey moments, but it was when the Deans went in, it was just that was it. I kind of didn't care how long we had to play extra after that. I knew we were winning with that. It was, yes, now we can look at it and go, well, there was only like 30 seconds left of the game. But at that point, it was just like, that's it. We're done. We're good. Unfortunately, the referee didn't let us, make us wait as long as they did when we were at Man U, which is quite good.
No, I mean, one way to stop the opposition coming back is to score literally with almost the last kick of the game. I mean, I know they had I think they sort of hoofed it long from the kickoff, and which Chia caught. And then, as I said on my sort of review, I assumed the final whistle went at that point because it was just like a tidal wave of people coming down towards the front and jumping around and shouting and hugging and everything all at once. So that was incredible. Claire, how about you? What did you make of the game? Did you always have that faith we were going to be in it till the end?
Always. You know me. I'm the optimistic one out of the lot of us. I still thought it'd be 4-0 even when we were 2-0 down. I mean, I'm still there in my head thinking, we'll be fine. But it was a little bit. They do it to us all the time, don't they? They just it's that first 10 minutes. They just can't seem to come out and just be settled and know what they're doing. They have to scare the shit out of us for 10, 20 minutes. Usually we get away with it. We didn't on Saturday. That was a little bit of a Saturday, Sunday. What day is it? I don't even know what day it is. Sunday. So, it's not a fun place to be when you're just so in your head. I knew we were going to Wembley and we were 2-0 down, and I was like, that's not the story that's going on in my head. Why is this happening? But like you guys have said, once Manu knocks that ball in, not even 2 minutes later, it's like, here we go. We clicked, and that was it. It was us from that minute on. There was no way that you just couldn't see Liverpool getting another goal. I think that they'd done what they set out to do, which was to come at us fast and try and get a goal. They then got a second, which I don't think they expected. And then, and then they had nothing left, and that was it. And we had everything, and we just pummeled them until we got what we wanted. But I'm glad it didn't go into extra time. I don't think my heart could have took it.
No. There were quite a few players who looked quite tired towards the end of the game, and there was a sort of a distinct lack of substitution. So, there was a bit of a theory that Dario might have been waiting to make those subs at the beginning of extra time to kind of give us all the fresh legs, which I don't think would have been a bad idea. But there were a couple out there that were kind of on fumes, shall we say, maybe not even on the fumes, on the wisps, basically. But it worked. We won the game, so we can't really criticize that side of things too much. That was that team that got us over the line, so that was incredible. But I do think getting that goal back so quickly when we went 2-0 down, arguably in retrospect, that was as important as Nadine's goal. Because I think the longer we remain 2-0 down, the longer we start to feel like it's an uphill battle. Whereas I think you get that 2-1 back and you think, right, we're turning the tide here, and it doesn't seem a mountain to climb. Whereas, if they'd have got to half time at 2-0, I still think we would have got better in the second half because we are at the moment a bit of a team of two halves. And that's the one prediction I think probably out of all of them. I think most of my predictions were totally awful. But the one thing I did say is if we aren't good in one half, we tend to be very good in the other. And so it kind of proved. But I think getting him getting them in at half-time at 2-1, there would have been a lot more optimism and a lot more that he could kind of put into place to give them the impetus to go and get that second goal and then the third, rather than if it had been 2-0, it really would have had to have been sort of all hands to the pump from as soon as you get back out for the second half. So
I think that's my thing about that 90 seconds between Beata Olsen's goal and Manu's.
Yeah.
Was the only time, because I thought, are we going to be able to get 2 goals back? And then, we got one of them. Oh, right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
More now, so we're sorted.
So
90 seconds of doubt.
And for the fans, I think it was very important as well, because, like you say, I think we were chanting and singing and stuff from the get go. We always do, but I think there was a little bit of a thing where when they scored their second, there was a little bit of oh no, I don't know if we're going to win this game.
Yeah.
And then we get the one back and we're like, we're not gone yet. We're still here. We're still fighting, And that's why I say, I think it was as important as Nadine's goal, because I do think you almost don't get Nadine's goal without Manu's goal.
No.
But, credit to the team, because, like we can be around sometimes to pick them up. I think they not only picked themselves up and got that goal back, they also picked us up as well and kind of gave us back something to get into. So so I mean, let's obviously talk about the 2 goals that Brighton give away. I'll speak to Claire on this one first. Do you think would you say they were kind of preventable? I know Darry's got a bit of a thing where, like, he often will say they're more our fault than the opposition kind of taking it around all of us and sticking it in top bins. I think obviously it was Fran, I think, on both occasions that gives the ball away that leads to the goals. So what were your sort of thoughts on those? And, should we have done better, or are there always going to be errors that kind of can eventually lead to goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just human nature, isn't it? Everyone has an off day. And unfortunately for Fran, that day was hers. And she said it herself, that first half, it just wasn't happening. Everything she did just went wrong. But it wasn't just her in that first 20 minutes. There was a lot of players who their passing was off. It just wasn't. They were almost like a little bit panicked, I felt. They were just kicking and hoping rather than looking up and seeing where they could place the ball. And there was so many passes that went straight to a Liverpool player. And then for the goals, they were just scrappy. The balls come in and there's so many people in the box and not one of them could deal with it and get the ball out. And you're just, and again, it was that thing of, if it's going to go wrong, it's going to go straight to a Liverpool player. And that's exactly what it did. And, just unfortunate, but that's the way it was. So, they got themselves out of it and we don't have to worry about how they scored their goals.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I mean, I think probably what's sort of a bit weird, and I'll ask Ben about this one, is the fact that we seem to be doing really well against good teams. I know this is something we've spoken about before, but against the good teams recently, we've actually been quite good. And obviously against Arsenal in the FA Cup, managed to keep a clean sheet. We only conceded 1 against them. Obviously, Man City did get a couple against us, but only once we'd already gone 3-1 up. Do you think there's a bit of an argument, Ben, that we sometimes give these sort of, I don't want to say they're not bad teams, but maybe teams that we should come out and have the advantage over? We sometimes almost give them a bit too much credit and kind of, and they take advantage of that. Because I know with Liverpool, especially, we have quite a poor record against them.
Possibly. I don't know. I mean, Liverpool have a certain way of playing. I mean, they kind of park the bus a bit, but not like sort of a Leicester or an Everton do. But at the same time, they are, I think, the reason that Dario put Mo Olislargas in the middle of the midfield was because Liverpool like to pack the midfield, and sort of that's kind of a lot of how they move through you, kind of thing. And so he was trying to block that. And I think to a certain extent that worked, but that meant sometimes other things didn't. I think it was. This particular time, I think, I wonder about, because Fran was A couple of times she gave the ball away in like the space of a couple of minutes, and she was so, you can see she's so angry with herself. I wonder if it was just the sort of pressure of being the big game player, because it was like, oh, we got to turn to Fran's experience and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, we should be steamrolling teams like this, shouldn't we? We have trouble against the low block, but also, I mean, Liverpool have got a few sort of individually very good players that can really catch you out. I think, you know, Kerry Holland obviously got pretty much both assists, not officially the second one, but and Denise O'Sullivan obviously got the first goal, that kind of stuff. And Beata Olsen doesn't need 2 invitations if you give the ball sort of 10 yards out. But yeah, it's funny, really. I think this specific time, I think it was more about nerves and the new formation. But I think generally speaking, yeah, I think whether it's, you know, they a lot of the time big teams do complain that smaller teams try harder against them, and I think that potentially might be true. But again, as we always say, that the Arsenals and Man Cities of this world also give us space to play our own game because they're busy playing theirs. Whereas a lot of the other teams are just sort of spoilering. So yeah, I think it's interesting. You know, the first one, it was a headed goal from Denise O'Sullivan, who's not the tallest player on the pitch.
No.
And when, you know, you sort of look, well, we've got Charlie and Moeka and especially Caitlin in the box. How come somebody who's sort of 6 inches shorter than them manages to get ahead to the ball? And I think that's something that we talked about with the Man City game, that that Caitlin basically was looking after Bunny Shaw for most of the game, and so none of the high balls that came towards Bunny Shaw got as far as Bunny Shaw because Caitlin was getting them all, whereas she was sort of snuck in. It was a sort of really good late run, and she wasn't picked up properly. So yeah, she sort of avoided our taller defenders. So it was but it was. I think yesterday was very atypical. I think you know, it wasn't even the usual sort of sleepy 5 minutes that we get sometimes. It was just people just, I don't know.
Yeah,
the whole team was just.
It just felt like a couple of moments where they, I think maybe due to the nerves, they just sort of switched off slightly. Obviously, you know, in games like this, you know, with an opposition like Liverpool, they kind of took we'd had a couple of warning shots already, to be brutally honest with you. They had a header, I think was it Olsen?
It was O'Sullivan. No, it was O'Sullivan.
O'Sullivan again, headed wide when, like, I think it was harder to head it wide than head it towards the goal. And they also hit the bar, I think, after the first one.
Yeah,
maybe.
Although that was,
it wasn't ever really going in.
It wasn't going in. She just watched it quite happily.
Yeah,
she basically could have just stuck one hand up and caught it if she wanted to. Really.
Yeah. But yeah, they took advantage of a couple of moments where we were just caught a bit, you know. I don't know, it's not caught cold, but just, you know, they took advantage of a couple of opportunities that were given to them. You know, when a couple of times in games past, you know, against Arsenal, against Man City and stuff, we've been fortunate that the opposition have spurned a lot of their chances, or you know, they've hit them straight at Chia, or Chia's made a really good save or whatever. This almost felt like they had sort of 3 really good chances in the whole game and scored 2 of them. You know, they weren't battering us by any stretch of the imagination, and particularly after we get back into it at 2-1, I don't really remember them having much of a threat at all. I mean, they when they brought on Silag near the end, she got down the flanks a couple of times, which is why I was thinking maybe Charlie would come off. She was looking quite tired, and whether they would maybe move Marissa back and go to a back 5. But it didn't pan out. You know, she got in behind a couple of times, but there was either no one with her, or she lost the ball, or we got the ball off her, or so it kind of, you know, it did work
made that
out.
Great save. Again,
she did
another one-on-one.
Yeah.
That's
right, and that was Moeka getting caught on the ball, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, she sort of slipped or something.
Yeah. So, and obviously the surface is a 5G surface, isn't it? So that obviously plays a factor. And they were watering it as well, so it presumably was quite slippy out there. I think maybe Caitlin slipped over quite early as well. Like a couple of our players definitely slipped, but they seem to get a grip on it. But yeah, it's you just never know what can happen in the course of 90 minutes, do you? So let's talk about the second goal. Abby, do you want to come in on this one? So obviously across to the back post and Maddie nods it in. There were a few Liverpool fans who were kind of saying, "Oh well, she uses our player as a a jumping point, like she jumped on top of her sort of thing." But did you see anything wrong with it?
Nope, nothing wrong with it at all. Absolutely fine. Move on. All good. All good. I mean, Maddie is quite tall, and I don't think their player is as tall. Yeah, I mean, Maddie has jumped the same way as virtually anybody else has in the league has jumped, and she got her head to it first, and it went in the net. The end of it. Thank you. Goodbye. Again, it's a lovely bit of work-up play. It's what I think about all of our goals, and we will talk about all of them. Is they're all quite simple. I'm not a fan of this tap it around, this, that, and the other. But this time, it is a very, simple goal. Kiko takes it up the side, shoots it across to Maddie. Maddie elevates herself somehow and nods it into the net. But it is very lovely. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that she does, I'm watching it on highlight. She heads it and then she sort of ends up on the floor. If she was climbing up on somebody, then she would have landed on them, not on the floor.
Yeah.
But
she does.
Nothing wrong with it, Liverpool fans. Thank you very much. Move on.
Yeah. It's basically it's Risa Shimizu, who's 5'3".
Yes.
And basically Maddie gets up early and is kind of hanging there as Shimizu. She has her hands on Shimizu's shoulders but that's because Shimizu is trying to challenge it really. She does really. She heads it right downwards as well. So Falk is obviously shaping for the ball to be coming sort of towards her, and it just goes straight into the ground. So yeah,
we've spoken before about how good a header of the ball Maddie is, which is why I've said sometimes she would be quite good in sort of central midfield. When we were sort of taking long goal kicks and stuff. Because you would 99.9% of the time, if it's one-on-one, her and someone else, doesn't matter if they're 5 or 6 inches taller, she'll still get the ball. She's obviously got such a really good leap on her that and timing is important as well. Excuse me. When to jump so that you're there at the right time, and I think that's the thing. Like we're saying with this goal, is she does get up early, but she's still there when the ball comes. But because she's up so early, Shimizu can't jump. If it's not like they both jump at the same time and she just beats her to it, she jumps early, so she's in the air. So Shimizu can do nothing. She's a lot smaller anyway.
It's very reminiscent actually. In the Champions League semi-finals, the Lea Codina scored against Chelsea, and it was disallowed because they said she was climbing on the Chelsea defender. I forget who it was, but actually, again, she'd got up early, and the Chelsea defender tried to challenge her while she was in the air and couldn't. And it was sort of, people looked at it again and were like, "Ooh, actually, that shouldn't have been disallowed." So it's very similar. Perfectly fine.
It would be interesting because there's obviously been a lot said about the fact that her dad's an NFL player, and one of the things that they do in the NFL Combine, where they look at all the players, is they do this thing where they sort of do a standing jump and hit some little sticks. To see how tall you could jump. I'd love to see how she does at that because she's very, very good at getting up. I don't know if she's done sort of athletics in the past, but I can see her having a similar sort of takeoff as like a high jump or something.
Yes.
She can get
that's
a lot of height.
She's just a very powerful athlete, basically.
I think so. Yeah.
And she plays for us. Lovely.
Exactly. It was lovely to, for her to get on the score sheet because she doesn't. She doesn't score 15 goals a season, doesn't score 10 goals a season, but I think she probably could if she was in the right, played in a certain position.
She's in the groove right now. She's got her mojo, so maybe she will next season.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a pleasant surprise, I think, to everyone. So yeah, we'll obviously have to see what what happens with the striker situation in the summer, and that will become clearer. So yeah, obviously that was the goal that gets us level, and then I would say for the most part it was just we were hoping and waiting for us to go and get that third goal. But obviously time passes on. There were a couple of I've hurt my leg and must rest for a couple of minutes.
Actually, I will give them credit. I think they were genuine, because
All right, we'll let them off.
It was O'Sullivan again, and it was also Kerry Holland. And O'Sullivan obviously started with a very heavily strapped knee, and there was a bit sort of midway or sort of early in the second half where she blocked a sort of quite powerful ball or something like that from someone, and I think it sort of hit the top of her leg was outstretched, and it hit the top of her foot and twisted it. So I think then she was limping quite heavily after that, and obviously Kerry Holland was the other one, and she had some sort of hamstring issue or something. We were talking about last week, but they both actually were substituted after they'd had their treatment. Although actually they probably knew they needed to be substituted, so they probably didn't need to be treated on the field. So actually,
because Marissa went down very late on, didn't she? I think it might even been after we went 3-2 up.
Yes,
she went down, and then they held the board up to say she's been substituted, and she was like, all right, I'm off. she went quite quickly off to the side.
Yeah.
I half wondered if Dario was like, there's no rush. Like you're being substituted anyway, but you can still shake hands with the referee, or all the dark arts that they do. You could still have a faff around with whatever. Make sure you high five and hug at the when you change with the player and stuff like that. So but yeah, I mean, it was so close to the end. I think it was just a case of Dario kind of going this will kind of take sort of 20-30 seconds out of the clock, and obviously we scored in stoppage time, which we'll speak about, but the referee Kirsty Dowell didn't add like tons and tons of time on for that, which was good from our point of view. So let's talk about the goal from Nadine then. I'll come to Claire. We've spoken earlier about whether we thought we could win, but in that specific moment, sort of 93 minutes in, be honest, were you expecting extra time?
Yeah. I thought we'll just see this out now, get to extra time, put on our fresh legs. They've already used up their subs, so that was good. And then we'll just see it out. And then I thought we might get 4 goals, to be fair, in extra time, but didn't need it. Super sub Noodles came on, didn't she? I mean, who knew? Nadine, as Ben said, I'm not swearing, River. I'm not swearing, all right?
You already had once.
Effing Nordam. That's all that Ben shouted.
I may have shouted that several hundred times.
I think he did. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, and I think Maisie said, didn't she, after the game, that Nadine had said earlier on the plane or the coach or whatever, that she felt like someone was going to score today who doesn't score normally, and on she comes and does it herself. So unreal. And I think, do you know what? We've probably known that she could do that. She's never really had that chance to, and she's never been in the position to.
Yeah.
But I think, like, the way she came on, it was kind of, she came on for Fran, didn't she? So, like for like, but she just got up there and started, joining in the attacks, really, because we all knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when. And it came quickly.
Yeah, I mean, she's not known.
I don't even know if she had a touch. Had she touched the ball before then? I don't know.
I think a few times.
It was speculated upon as to whether that was her first touch. But I think 2 things can be true. I think, has she really pulled up trees for Albion this season? Personally, not for me. But she came on and did exactly what she was needed to do in that moment, and she deserves absolutely all the praise in the world for doing that, and that is the sort of thing that will hopefully, if she can do it more, You know, hopefully she gets the opportunity and she does stay next season. If she
Yeah.
can do that more, then she's going to prove that she
Yeah.
can
I mean,
be valuable.
To be
For
fair to Noodles, you know, she hasn't really started many games, but she is, I think, our top for assists. I mean, that's not bad for someone who doesn't start every game and who just comes on for the last 10, 20 minutes, that she's got so many assists in a locker. So, you know, yeah, she's not, I think she's just one of those players that she just works quietly, and she's not a big, because she's not scoring goals, because she's not rampaging around and tackling players and doing things like that. It gets unnoticed. And I think she does a lot more for the team than we give her credit for when she comes on.
Yeah, she's sort of a utility player almost, like, you know.
She's box to box, isn't she?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm still not sold. I'm not sold on the basis.
because
I'm not
I'm
sold
feeling really
on the
quite
basis
smug.
of one goal. That's all. That's all I'll say.
But
it was
I'm
a
feeling
very,
really quite
very
smug.
important goal.
She will
Because
go down as a legend for this team.
Absolutely.
Will be remembered.
Like,
she is our top in assists. So I've just looked at SofaScore. She's got 5 assists this season.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in here because I'm feeling quite smug, because I think singular, Claire. I think it's just Noodle, which is that I just got that from a comment on her Instagram from Maisie. And if Noodle is Nadine's nickname, that is the most adorable thing I've ever heard. But I've been saying almost since she got here that she's going to score one of these days, and when she does, it's going to be really good, because she used to bang them in for Ajax fairly regularly. But when she scores, it's going to be good. I mean, I've surpassed myself there, because I really didn't think it'd be quite as good as that. But yeah, I mean, she knows where the goal is, and I think she has pulled up a few trees. Again, I think, you know, as Claire said, she's not had the chance to be hugely spectacular, because she has been a sort of last 10 minutes, last 20 minutes Fran replacement. But I think it was, you know, the Leicester game at the Amex when Fran wasn't there, and Nadine was told to go out and not be Fran, try and do what Fran did. She was, you know, Dario had said, go out and do what Nadine does, and she did, and she was amazing. So yeah, I think, you know, but like I said, you know, I've been a fan since she arrived, and I've been looking at the stuff she did at Ajax, and I thought she's going to do that soon, and she did. Timing. I think, you know, on the subject, I think, because apparently, you know, the extra time thing, Dario, apparently, some of the staff were saying to him, "Have you got a plan for extra time, Gaffer? You know, this is like in the 93rd minute," and he's like, "No, hang on a minute. I know we're going to get something. I've really got a feeling about this." And I think, you know, I was sort of thinking, it's going to be extra time, because I think, again, the second half seemed to go really quickly once we'd equalised. Suddenly it was like, you know, looking up at this, blimey, 85 minutes. Wow, it's going to be extra time. But I forget who it was. Somebody fouled Maddie, obviously, up in the left wing position, and I thought, oh, you know, I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, you know, we've got Maisie. Well, Maisie and Yelly were standing over it, but I thought Maisie is having this, and Maisie did say to Yelly, "I'm having this. Get out of it." And she puts an amazing ball in, and I was almost surprised we didn't get a head on it, but yeah, it just falls to Nadine and kablam. So I sort of, you know, I was with Dario for a few seconds, but I was expecting extra time.
Yeah, and I think that's natural. You know, I think we were all sort of, as soon as it gets to sort of 90 minutes, you're starting to think about the end of the game. Obviously, it's still 2-2 at that point. But then perhaps that's why we go and score that goal, is perhaps because Liverpool were almost waiting for extra time.
Yeah,
and we weren't.
Yeah,
you know, we thought we can still do this. You know, it's still, and we did have a couple of opportunities. You know, we had a corner, I think, in like the 93rd minute, or maybe in the 94th, where we were all sort of thinking, oh, this would be a really good time to score. Didn't happen. And then they go and kind of, if I remember rightly, Maddie was she wasn't running towards goal. She was almost like trying to get back down the side to maybe put another cross in. And one of them just sort of came up behind and sort of clipped her ankles from behind. It was, I wouldn't say it was completely unnecessary, but it put them in a bad position.
It was
with a minute to go. With a minute to go, Maddie wasn't about to sort of like bang one into the top corner. She was just trying to work the ball into another opportunity. And they go and give us a free kick that we can basically put into the box at a better angle than a corner, and closer to the goal. And obviously they dealt with it okay, to a certain extent, because they get the clearance, but as what happened to Caitlin a little bit in the was it in the City game or was it Arsenal? She could only get so much power on it, and it goes to the opposition, who then scores. So, I think that was probably the one thing I would say, is that I do wonder if, a bit like us, Liverpool were kind of like, it's going to be extra time, isn't it? Let's get mentally prepared for another half an hour.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, like Dario said, Dario said he could feel it. Maybe the players were a bit like that too.
Yeah.
No, we don't want extra time. We still think we've got a minute or two here. We can do something.
I think so. I think that they probably thought we're resigned to extra time. A little bit like, I think Chelsea thought we've won this.
Yes.
And they kind of switched off a little bit. And then, Manchester City said, no, you haven't.
Yeah.
And I think, it sometimes winning is all about just keeping going, not giving up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's only been a week since we conceded a 94th minute goal, isn't it? When we dropped our 2 points at Man United. So that maybe that put something in our team's head that was like, it's not over until it's over,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good attribute to have, isn't it?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, is to if what you can take from that is that we never give up, then fantastic, because that's what every fan wants to hear about their team, is that they will keep going no matter what. And I think as a fan base, we try and embody that. When we are losing or whatever, we do keep going. We even winning or losing, we'll still keep going. We'll still keep chanting. Even at Arsenal, when we were at Boreham Wood, when we're 2-0 up, we still weren't taking that for granted. We were still trying to get the team over that line from our perspective and stuff. So I think that kind of, what you see on the field to a certain extent is replicated amongst the rest of the, amongst the staff, amongst the fan base. And if, like I say, if that's the kind of takeaways, that we never give up, then just like the players, we won't as fans give up. And there you go. Things like this happen, so absolutely incredible. Does anyone have anything specific on their mind that they wanted to speak about to do with
I was
the
just
game?
going to say, just let everyone know we are going to Wembley.
Hey.
Are we? Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
This case you forgot.
Glad you told me, Claire. I've forgotten for a split second.
I know. You got to buy the tickets.
I know, exactly. Yeah. I've definitely got to remember. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. I was going to sort of jump in there and sort of, by a roundabout way, via Gareth, forgot his surname.
Taylor.
Gareth Taylor. A little bit about the ref, because he had a really big moan. I mean, I used to like him because when he was Man City manager, they'd come to Broadfield and beat us, and then he'd be really nice about us. And I thought, what a nice guy, because a lot of managers will just whinge about stuff, or say, we were really good. But he'd always really credit Albion, and I think he's a good winner. But it turns out he's actually quite a bad loser, because he did have a big moan about the ref, because he said, he booked our players and didn't book Brighton players for the same thing. And I think actually, just get one thing, Mo Olislow did drag somebody down in a similar, in that sort of take one for the team way quite late on, and she didn't get booked. And obviously 3 Liverpool players had been booked for that. But that was the only time that happened. So that's not like a big thing. And obviously they did have a penalty shout, didn't they? Quite late on when it was 2-2. And again, it was Kirsty Dow was quite close to it. So obviously she either thought Charlie got enough of the ball or didn't get enough of whoever the player was. I forget now. And didn't give it, again, but that might have been an error by her. I mean, she certainly owes us a few penalties for over the years. But I mean, but while she might have been a mistake on her part, she wasn't obviously, but there were also still things that she did that I would say sort of favoured them, you know, or whatever, you know, mistakes on the. So yeah, for instance, I mean, their second goal. Obviously, Maisie tries to clear it, but Denise O'Sullivan sort of comes in and blocks the clearance, and that's what pings it up in the air. And Maddie's kind of waiting for it to come down to head it, and while she jumps in the air, and Beata Olsen pushes her over, and so Maddie's lying on the ground when the ball comes over to Beata Olsen, and she hammers it in. So that, you know, had we got VAR, that goal might well have been disallowed. And then obviously Denise O'Sullivan had been booked for, I think, pulling a shirt, something like that, relatively early on. And then again, after about an hour, she takes Kiko down from behind in a, you know, very professional, not trying to get the ball foul, which should have been a second yellow. So, you know, there's you know, there's stuff, not going to say mistakes or whatever, but there was absolutely no way that the ref was favouring us.
No.
And, you know, and again, otherwise, I thought she had a great game. It's nice. I noticed in some of the goals, you can see her actually smiling, which is really good, because it's like, that was a great goal or whatever, and I was standing next to you when you did that, and that, you know, I'm really pleased to have seen that. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, it's great to have a ref that's a football fan. So yeah, I think maybe she wasn't perfect, but she certainly wasn't sort of perfect on, you know, imperfect on anyone, you know, unfairly against anybody else.
I think it's just that typical thing of, if you're on the losing side, you want someone to blame, you want to be able to point the finger, but what tends to happen is the side that's disappointed with the result will be the one who cherry picks all the decisions that didn't go for them, you know. And I you know, we're talking about, say, very similar to Arsenal, all the Arsenal fans, oh, that was a penalty by Charlie on Freedom Arnhem, penalty, it was a penalty, we should have won that game, a penalty, but they don't talk about the fact that we had Kiko through on goal. She got pulled back, which should have been a red card and a penalty. She was flagged offside, and she wasn't offside. So that's the thing that I don't like so much, and probably we're all guilty of it. We're probably guilty of it, but it really comes off like sour grapes when they're like, oh, we should have had a penalty. But it's like, well, have you looked at any of the other decisions made in the game? Because if you looked at any of the other decisions, you'd go, okay, maybe one or two were missed, but it wasn't like 7 were missed for us and none for them.
Yeah.
It was like there was a couple that could have been given either way, and actually they weren't. They were both, you know, the Denise O'Sullivan one is a non-decision. I'm not making that decision to send her off. The penalty, non-decision. I'm not making the decision to give a penalty there. So you could look at it, if you're being uber critical, and say that she was shying away from making match-changing decisions. But equally, if they were incorrect, she at least got one incorrect on both sides there. So, you know, it rankles with me that teams will go, oh yeah, we should have had a penalty. You know, a bit like with Chelsea, you know, when we had that goal that was it was offside. There's no question about it. It was offside. We probably, or could have won that game 2-1. And all the Chelsea fans wanted to talk about was how they maybe should have had a penalty for a handball, which was kicked, from my memory, kicked at our player from point blank range. It was never a handball. Obviously wasn't given. But we were talking about one thing, which was an actual, you know, it was a breach of the rules of the game. They're talking about a 50-50 handball that sometimes gets given, sometimes doesn't. But you'd honestly think we'd, like, I don't know, farted in their church or something. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's the frustrating thing.
It's the job of a football fan to cherry pick injustices.
To a certain extent.
I think it doesn't do Gareth Taylor much credit.
No, it comes off as whiny.
I mean, he did admit that they weren't as good as us and things like that as well, I think. But yeah, I think it's disappointing when all managers do, I think, don't they? They'll say this should have happened when it's actually, well, that should have happened as well, mate.
Yeah. And also, to be fair, I'll give him a little bit of leeway as well, because I think the pundit asked him, do you think that should have been a penalty? He didn't. It's always a little bit worse when they bring it up. They really want to get it in there that they were robbed. Actually, to be fair,
or like turn up with their phone with it already.
Yeah, he didn't do the bombastic.
I mean, she had a point. She had a point.
But yeah.
but yeah, I think he was prompted to say something about it, and he
Yeah.
obviously disagreed with the decision, which, again, like we say, I think it on another day it could have been given. It wasn't. I like to think that when I watch penalties back and stuff like that, I like to think of myself in the other shoes. If that had been done to our player, would I be screaming for a penalty? And I would have been. But that is not the whole story of the entire game. That one decision. There were other decisions, and there was an entire game of football.
Yeah.
Completely
Well, anyway,
separate.
we've got the best goalkeeper in the world. She would have saved it.
Would have saved anyway. Yeah, of course.
To be fair, I thought
just
the
wasted
referee had quite a
everybody's
good
time.
game. I thought she
Yeah,
let
I
the
thought
game
she
flow.
did.
She
did.
wasn't picky
Yeah.
about stuff. She was just
She did.
right.
Yeah, exactly. She was relatively consistent.
Yeah.
In that, like I say, if you want to be uber critical, she didn't make those huge game-changing decisions, but equally, at least she was consistent with not making those huge game-changing decisions. She had a high threshold and stuck to it. So it is what it is. I'm always
sure she would have told the teams at the beginning of the game, this is how I'm doing it.
Yeah. They always have a meeting with the referees, don't they? The coaches, and I don't know if the captains do as well, but they know up front, and they'll know. Everything is ultra analyzed now as well, so they'll know. They'll have done studies on Kirsty Dowell. How does she interact with the players, and what does she give sort of fouls for, and all that sort of thing. They'll know little weird things like that. They'll have video and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't kind of mind them saying, that they didn't feel the decisions went their way, if they then caveat that with, but ultimately we can't blame those. And he kind of did that beforehand by saying we were the better team. So yeah, it did just come off a little bit petty, but I think he was probably pretty angry at that stage. So, fair play to him. Excuse me while I cough. Yes. Anyone else want to chime in on the Liverpool game?
I just think, again, we just need to shout out to the fans at Liverpool, to the stewards. It was a really nice day out. It's always lovely. I think Liverpool and Everton, and hopefully they won't shout at me for putting them in the same breath. But it's always a pleasure just to go and be at a game there, because they are very welcoming. We felt like we were being shunted out of the stadium at the end, when we obviously just wanted to stay and enjoy the moment and this, that, and the other. It was just a joy. And the Liverpool fans that I interacted with were all just very happy and lovely. And it is, I've said it once, I'll say it again and again, it's the beauty of the women's game. You're not segregated, you're not kept apart, you can just interact. We had a friend of ours, came over and said hello, who, lives in the area and supports Liverpool. Sorry, mate. And that was just lovely that you can have that sort of interaction. And I just really hope we keep that in the women's game as long as we can. But yeah, the stewards were lovely. One of them got a lovely hug from Caitlin as well. The big thing for me was that their initial reaction, as soon as that whistle went, was to come to us and to celebrate with us. And then we all got that moment. So if anybody's there going, oh, should I go and see games in person? Yes, you should, because that's what you get when we win. You can't get that, through the TV screen. It really will sit there for a long time as one of the best. I can't actually remember most of the 90-some minutes of the game. I can just remember shouting myself hoarse that we'd won it. So yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd absolutely agree with that. I know a lot of the Liverpool fans, obviously, that come across a few of them as you're going out. We're kind of saying, oh, you jammy buggers or whatever. But good luck and hope you go and
has to go and win it.
Yeah, go and win it, because I mean, essentially, I think probably we would have had a similar feeling in that City won the league, right? They probably will win the league again in the next 2-3 years, most likely at some point. They'll probably win another cup or two in the next few years as well. They're going to be perennial top four contenders. They've got a big budget, or a big-ish budget. They've got a big men's team behind them, etc., etc. They'll be fine. We don't know when we'll get this chance again. We'd love to think that we would get it as often as a team like Man City, but the truth is, at the moment, that's not where we are as a club. We want to get there, of course we do, but in some ways, in the same way that I said to City fans, I was quite glad that obviously we beat them, which was nice, so we could have a little bit of sympathy for them. But I was quite glad that we then got the draw with Arsenal that meant that Man City could win the title, because it sort of feels like they deserved it. Their fans always fantastic. They were lovely when they went up there. And I think when we've encountered, not all, but some Arsenal fans, we've had a different impression of them. When we went to the Emirates, I know, I think was it only me out of us four who went to the Emirates? I think it might have been. But the staff and stuff, it was curt. It was down there. It was, round the corner, whatever. It wasn't, oh, how are you? Welcome, all that sort of stuff that you get at other clubs. So if it was a choice of Arsenal or Man City, I'm kind of glad that it was Man City. Now the choice would have been Brighton or Liverpool or Chelsea or Man City. Well, I'm supporting whoever wins out of our side, because we're not teams that would normally get to this stage. So we have to make the most of it when we do. And maybe there's a bit of that underdog mentality, but that it is what it is. We want to see the establishment challenge. We want to see everything become more competitive and stuff. And I actually saw a thing earlier that said about the prize money, and it looks like we're probably going to get around about 400,000 just by getting to the final. I think that ups to about 800,000 if we win the final, which would be incredible. But even so, for us, that's a big deal.
That's a player.
For Chelsea, that's their snack budget on an away game. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's their rider that they have when they get to the stadium. So, I think it is right to root for the underdogs, especially when you're a bit of an underdog yourself. So we would have been all out for Liverpool to beat Man City, but it's us, so we have to go and beat Man City, on their behalf as well. So I thought that was really nice, and couldn't agree more. It's a bit of a cliche that the further you go north, the friendlier people are. Because actually, I think we're very friendly. I like to think we're very friendly, and we're a long way south. But yeah, it is very true. A lot of the places we've been up north, they do give us a good welcome. So we appreciate that. We really do. Have I forgotten anything else?
I was gonna. I mean, we could go on all night, couldn't we? Actually, on the subject of extra time, if you look at the pictures at the end, Carla and Rose have both got shin pads on, so I think they would have been imminent, possibly even during the sort of pause between 90 and extra time. And it was quite, you said about Charlie looking quite tired towards the end. I did wonder, because Maylise came on for Mo, I did wonder if she was being prepared to come on for Charlie, and then Mo said, hang on a minute, my leg hurts. So I hope that's going to be better for the weekend.
Hopefully.
But the one thing again is, I think I'm just going to say something about the skipper, because we all love her. Everybody loves Maze. She was absolutely Captain Fantastic.
Yeah.
And there was a really lovely bit, because obviously it's on Channel 4. I watched it on you watch it on the Channel 4. I don't know how long it's going to be on there. Quite often Channel 4 stuff stays there forever, so that might be like every day for the rest of my life watching this game. But it was presented by Maisie Adam with Jill Scott and Fern Whelan. Obviously, Fern Whelan was at Brighton for 3 seasons, so she knew Maisie when she were a kid, kind of thing. And she just said such nice things about Maisie, and just talking about the fact that Maisie really doesn't get the credit she deserves sometimes and stuff. And then, at the end of it, Maisie came over to them, and so did Dario. They standing there on the microphones, and then Dario said some amazing stuff about Maisie as well. And I think that was one of those games where she really took. Again, the whole team. I'm not going to blame any. I think all 11 were a bit wobbly in the first 20 minutes or so, but she really took control of the game, and she really absolutely bossed it. And you can see, when Maisie has a good game, her passing accuracy goes down the pan. She's, I think it's like 64.3% passing accuracy, but I love that because that means she's playing ambitious passes.
Yeah.
It's easy to get 80-90% passing accuracy if you're passing it around the back or backwards and forwards between centre backs and things. When you take risks with passing, some of them are going to go to the feet, some of them are going to go to the goalkeeper, some of them are going to go out of play, some of them are going to go to your players in really good positions. And so, yeah, I think she was aggressive, controlling Maisie, and she was fantastic. And I do absolutely adore the girl, and I'm filling up now. I can't wait to see her lead the team out at Wembley because it's just going to be the most beautiful sight. I do wonder, if they have mascots, I wonder if she's going to walk out with her little sister again, which will make me absolutely burst into tears.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite lucky. I actually got to ask her what she would feel like leading the team out at Wembley, and she's not one for sort of over elaborating. She just said it will be a dream, and I just thought that's perfect. That sums it up, doesn't it? You know, that's a lot of people would feel that way. And, I'm sure she's felt that way for a very, very long time, and she's going to get the opportunity to do it, which is incredible and well deserved, and a young player still, but our captain, but equally our longest tenured player, so who better to lead us out at Wembley than the player who's been here the longest and shown us the most loyalty. It'll be incredible.
Yeah. And I suppose, obviously, it is quite well known that her contract does expire in the summer, and she hasn't signed a new one yet. And again, it's a worry that suddenly everyone's going to go, "Oh, that Brighton player's good," and come and nick her off us. And if anyone stole Maisie, I'd be absolutely gutted. If they took her on a free, that would be really, 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 really annoying. But I think, I think she will stay because I think she loves it here. And I think the club values her as much as we do. And I did, we obviously her family were there. And I'm sure I've spoken to her sister before, but I do recognise her sister, who's also her agent. And I basically told her that we are going to chain Maisie to a radiator until she signs a contract because she's not going anywhere.
There we go. You heard it here first. We're chaining her to a radiator. A couple of good points pointed out in the chat. A big shout out to the Celtic contingent that came and supported Caitlin, but they also support us, which is lovely because they don't have to. There's nothing to say that they need to, but they support Caitlin. Caitlin plays for us, so they support us, and it's really lovely to see them all there. And I think they were missing a game of their own to be there. I gather the game was of little to no consequence, so that probably helped with their decision. But even so, it's still a big, it's a long old journey. Not as far as some,
home by Hearts, so they were probably best out of it.
Yes, in retrospect, that might have been a good one to miss. But yeah, we obviously really appreciate them coming, and obviously, I think Chia had some family there. She had some family at Manchester United as well. So the fact that they feel welcome and that they can hear us, when we're doing her chant and stuff, they seem absolutely like made up, as anyone would if a member of your family was getting, incredible support and stuff. So, hopefully they feel welcome. And I do think, just as a kind of an aside to that, after the game, when the players were coming over, I think Chia is sometimes, I wouldn't say she hangs back, but she's a little bit more reserved, I would say, than some of the other players. But this time she was straight over. She was dancing. We got the Chia Nado.
I love the Chia dance.
She's dancing for that, and it just felt like I wouldn't say she wasn't like one of us or part of the team before. It's nothing like that, but it was just that felt like a real moment of like, yes, you're Brighton now.
Yeah,
you are Brighton now. You feel the love from us. We feel the love from you.
We've broken down that reserve, that shyness.
Exactly. Like I say, it wasn't like we were all like, oh, she's not one of ours or whatever. It's nothing like that. It was just like it was kind of that sort of like moment of just like perfect moment sort of thing to
there
see
are some
her
players
personality
that
come out.
Like when Manu started playing, after one game, I was like, she's been here forever.
Yeah.
And she just really came in. But I think also, particularly for Chia, I was talking to Mum about this earlier on. There was this stuff at the beginning of the season where she was saying that she felt quite lonely when she got here.
Yeah.
And to see her now dancing on the field to her chant with her family there, with her scarf around her head. I mean, it's just lovely to see.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. It's just
so much joy.
yeah.
The whole team just radiated joy.
Yeah.
The video that gets me is the one of Fran just standing back, taking in. Also, because they put some piano music over the top, and put piano music over the top of anything, and I'm a bawling mess.
Yeah.
But that one just got it, because I do think that, you know, every time they spoke about Fran in the commentary, they couldn't say her name without saying 5 times FA Cup winner, Fran Kirby. And I think that does put an awful lot of pressure on one person. And I think, you know, when she looked like a proud big sister, sort of stood there, just taking it all in, and sort of like that's, you know, us getting to the final, regardless of what happens there, us getting to the final is kind of her legacy.
Yeah.
And that really got me, is seeing Fran in that moment. So I can't wait for Wembley, and I'm gutted to be missing Spurs.
I also think what she was doing was she was letting them have their moment.
Yes.
She's had her
character.
moment.
Yeah.
You know, she's got another opportunity at a moment, but she knows that this is she's been there and done that before. She doesn't need to do it again. Of course, she wants to win, unquestionably, but she wants them to have the limelight for a change, because and ultimately, if there was a game where they took it on because Fran wasn't on tippity top form, it was that game. You know, it was that game where they kind of went, well, you know, Fran is Fran, and she'll be involved, and she did some good things the more the game went on. But ultimately, they're the ones. She didn't carry them over the line this time like she has once or twice. They carried her over the line a little
well, they
bit.
carried each other.
Yeah, certainly in the second half. But she
was
wanted to see them have their moment with the fans, because who knows how many other moments they're going to get, where she's had so many already. You know, she's just happy to kind of sit and go, wow.
I think those sorts of moments as well are the things that can motivate a player, because that's special to be able to go over to they've been with us the whole time. You know, they've been with, you know, just 11 of us turning up to watch, before that not having anyone there, and now they're getting that level of noise, that level of people turning up to support them on a long old trip where we got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get there. And I think they're appreciating it. They're appreciating how much we get them over the line, as well as them getting us excited about it enough to do it. And I think, you know, it was a moment where I think Fran just looked at it and thought, that's amazing. That's amazing. You know, and they need to experience that. They're all young. They need to experience that motivation from their fans, so that they turn up at Wembley and want to experience that at the end of that game.
Yeah, and also, the end of the game, Fran got sort of hoiked away by TNT Sport, I think it was, for the sort of post-match stuff, and she couldn't say enough about the team, the spirit, and just, you know, I mean, it's not. I'm not going to say it wasn't like that at Chelsea, but I think it's different. I think, you know, again, I want to speak about sort of, obviously, because there are other megastars at Chelsea. You know, she was a megastar amongst megastars. She's a megastar here amongst some amazing people. I mean, I think our players are better than Chelsea's players, but they're not as famous. They haven't got, and again, I'm going to talk about egos, but you know, our players haven't got egos, and you can see all the social medias, all the, you know, they are such a group. They're such, you know, they'll die for each other, and I think, you know, and she just. She couldn't say enough about it, and it was just, you know, and it wasn't like I think it's great, and I'm really looking forward to winning it again because I've won it so many times. It was all about what a great group she's got. And there's a lovely thing with, because obviously there's a big group photo. They're all sitting on the pitch and stuff with the fans behind them, like quite often happens. And again, as Claire said, there was one taken last season where there's 11 of them behind them, and this time there's like 200. And obviously Fran's overdoing telly. So Caitlin sort of reposted it saying, Frank Kirby was also involved. But yeah, we've got such a great team. You know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think we're all very proud. We're just very proud all round. Very proud of the team. Very proud of the staff. Very proud of our fellow fans that we got as many as we did, and that we were as loud and proud as we were, and you know, and so on and so forth. It's amazing what an FA Cup run will do for morale, isn't it? Coming from where we thought we might be, probably 4 to 6 weeks ago. It's totally flipped on its head, and it could become, well, I think it would become our best season ever. If we won the FA Cup, it would definitely be our best season ever. But yeah, I mean, arguably to get to the final and even to finish 6th would be our best season ever. So yeah, incredible time to be a Brighton fan. We just need more and more Brighton fans, and obviously we're gonna get a lot more fans for the final. So I think we all kind of acknowledge that to a certain extent we have to enjoy it as women's fans, because there will be a lot of people who have never been to a women's game, or you know, they don't really pay attention to women's football, but they will essentially be coming on board to see Brighton in a final, which is fantastic. But I think we kind of have to embrace that as much as we can, because ultimately what we want people to do is become fans of Brighton women's team. So if they've not watched a game before, if they're a men's fan, whatever it may be, we just hope that when they do all come along to the final and see Brighton play, that they realise what they've been missing out on by not watching women's football in the past, or dismissing it, or whatever it may be. So that's the key takeaway. If we had 15,000 women's fans, then we would love them all to come, and we would love as many of those to come as well. But yeah, we also have to try and build the fan base, and part of that is getting other Brighton fans who are not associated with the women's team to realise just, you know, how good the game is, and feel the feelings that we do, you know, because I'm prouder of the women's team getting to a final than I probably would be of the men's team at this stage. I'm just more invested in the people on the women's side of things. But I'd be immensely proud if Brighton men got to the final of the FA Cup for, you know, only the second time in their history. You know, that's how momentous this is. You know, Brighton have only been to one FA Cup in the whole game, men's, women's, you know, etc., etc. This is only going to be the second time that we've got an opportunity to win the FA Cup, and it would be the first time we lifted it if we went ahead and did it. So, you know, I like to think if there are people coming on board now, that they will watch that and think, you know, we must have a good team and we must be good at football, otherwise we wouldn't be in this position. So yeah, while we're on the subject, then we'll talk a little bit about what we know about the ticketing, which is that they will go on sale to season ticket holders on Wednesday. I might have to get you guys to jump in if I forget anything. The next one, I think the next cutoff is it Thursday or Friday? The next
Friday.
It's Friday.
So I've got the webpage up.
Perfect. Yeah. If you can run it down for us, Abby.
Yeah. So we've got, if you're a season ticket holder for this current season, so 2025 to 26, women's season ticket holder, then Wednesday the 13th of May at 10 o'clock, you can get your tickets, or designate your friend to do it on your behalf. And I think, if you are all season ticket holders, then you can, this was what, I'm just going off script slightly from the website. This was what was given out on the coaches on Sunday, was if you are a season ticket holder and somebody else, you know, adds your, you know, supporter number and you're together as friends and family, then you can book so that you are sat together. Because like, we are all friends. We all want to sit together. So we can do that, but you do all have to be season ticket holders. Then on Friday, the 15th of May at 10 o'clock, if you are a women's season ticket holder for next season, 2026-27, then then it opens for you. Then on the Monday, the 18th, it opens to men's season ticket holders, 1901, My A+ members. If you have attended one women's match this season, then you get your chance. Then on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, Women's season ticket holders and guests open. Then men's season ticket holders on Wednesday the 20th, and men's season ticket holders and guests on Thursday the 21st. So there's lots of different sort of cut-offs. But yeah, the women's season ticket holders get priority for this year, then next year, then everybody else, kind of. But it is all on the website, including prices and the price ranges and so on and so forth. So it's all on the website. I don't think they've sent an email out yet. I've not seen anything pop up in my inbox, but it is all on the website.
I'm assuming that because they're going live on Wednesday, I would suspect an email will come out tomorrow. It might just be they were just waiting for some details to put on there and stuff. But I would expect, keep an eye on the emails tomorrow if you want the full download. But all that is on the website, and I don't see any of that changing in the meantime.
And there's a link to the coach travel as well.
That's already on sale, isn't it?
Yeah, you can book your coaches.
You can book your coach if you want to go on coach. On the coaches, it looks like it's £35. I don't think you can book a child seat on its own, so I think you're looking at £35 per person. I think it is a tiny bit cheaper if you book a family, not massively. I think maybe you get 10 quid off if you book 2 adults, 2 children. But obviously we're not going to be I don't think I'm sort of speaking out of turn here, but we're not going to be able to get everyone on all the coaches, so some people will have to travel by other methods. So I think it's fair to point out that car parking is £50, which is a bit of a rip-off, no, let's not lie. But if there's like 4 of you going, that is going to represent quite a significant reduction on what it would cost you to go on the coach. So we're absolutely not discouraging people from going on the coach. We want the coaches full, and that would be fantastic. But bearing in mind that we can't get 15,000 people on coaches, it's just not possible. Some people will have to go another way. You can park at the stadium within a relatively short walk of the actual sort of concourse and everything for £50. So do look out for that. On the SheGulls website, we have got a sort of mini FAQ for any of the sort of initial questions that people have. There is a link on there for the Wembley car parking site, because it is a separate site to the stadium site, just to confuse everyone. However, if you do end up on the stadium site and you look at the section that says about travelling by road, there is a link there as well. So just bear that in mind. And also just be careful, because there are some places that advertise as being at Wembley or is Wembley parking and stuff like that. Not all of which are legitimate, or not all of them are actually that close to the stadium. So probably it's best to book official parking. If you're not booking official parking, just use your common sense and stuff. So
it does say, sorry, just to jump in on the coaches, I've just had a quick look on the SheGull travel, the site that the link is on the club website, and it says the coach seats start at £35 and £30 for children under 16. But they've said that when the first tranche of coaches are filled, costs will then rise, because they're having to bring coaches in from further afield.
Right. So if you want that £35 for an adult,
if you want to go on the coach and you want to know you can get on, it's not like previous games where even for the semi-final you could have booked last minute and got on the coach. I think these are going to go. So if you want to go on the coach, do book.
And even if you are lucky enough to get one, the chances are it'll be at a higher price than the initial offering. So that's.
And I'd love to fill every single coach and really
absolutely
get the whole of our end, filled with people in blue and white, or I will be wearing my purple shirts. That's what I wore on Sunday. So I very carefully catalogued everything I was wearing.
To make sure that's your lucky shirt. I mean, obviously you can travel by rail and everything. Again, if you want to go on the SheGulls website and find that information, there's a link on there to basically their full page of how you get there, every different method, unicycle, whatever, tandem, hot air balloon, whatever. but yeah, there's obviously tube stations nearby and everything if you're traveling by train. So that's the other option probably as well. Yeah, so I don't think we don't know it. We suspect we're going to be in the East Stand. I think there has been an email come out, I think, from the Adobe Women's FA Cup account, which I know not everyone is necessarily subscribed to, but it does say that we will be in the East Stand. So I mean, everyone's welcome to kind of wait to confirm that when tickets go on sale. But just as a rule of thumb, it has been stated by the Women's FA Cup organisers that we will be in the East Stand. So actually, the nearest parking to that will be green parking. And there is also blue parking, but that's specifically for disabled and things like that. So those are the two that you're looking for if you want to be close to where we are likely to be sat. So, and having walked around Wembley a couple of times, it is quite a long way from one side to the other.
Trek.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, it's not like the Amex where there's a couple of steps and that's it. Sort of thing. So yeah, there we go. And yeah, helpful comment in the chat about that. Obviously, yeah, that's one option, is to park further out, cheaper, and then get the tube. Yeah, any method was fine. The only thing we would always say is just make sure you leave enough time to complete your journey well in advance. There will be bits and bobs going on at the stadium. There will be. I think it might have been Ollie Murs last year. Did a couple of songs from his back catalogue. So there'll be bits and bobs going on if you're there an hour or early or 2 hours early. But if you miss the first half an hour, you're not getting that time back. So make sure you leave plenty of time to complete your journey. Better to be there nice and early and have to wait than find out you've missed the first half an hour and Brighton are already 3-0 up. Just a suggestion. Right, I think let's talk about the Arsenal game. Not too in depth, because I think everyone is kind of a little bit like, yeah, we've got something else to focus on now. But obviously we haven't spoken about it since the actual game. So I'm going to start with Claire on this one. Obviously last Wednesday we're going back to now. I mean, that feels like that was 5 days ago, but it feels like months.
Feels like months.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What was your sort of thoughts on the Arsenal game?
I thought it was bloody awesome. I mean, we all know my thoughts on Arsenal fans. They're not my favourite, some of them. Some of them are a little bit higher up the list, but most of them are not. I just thought, you know what, after all their complaining and whinging about the game being cancelled and moved and blah, 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 and how we did that on purpose. We created the rain gods for that day and made it rain so that they had to not play us after they've travelled all of 2 miles from their homes in Crawley to come and watch their local team. I just thought it's going to be really nice to just play them now while we are kicking into gear, sorted, just, off the back of beating Man City, open the door for Arsenal to sneak in there and win the league, and then went, no, you're not having it. Bye. Snapped them. Love it. And we did it with a second string team as well. Didn't even play our best players. Didn't even play our first team. And they still couldn't beat us. And I'm just like, yes, get in. Because that shows me how far our team has come, in that we could make 7 changes like that against a team like Arsenal, who, let's face it, they are a fantastic team. And we showed them up. I thought for the majority of the game, we showed them up. And even if we'd have lost that, I would have still been happy with our performance, because that team looked like it plays together week in, week out. And if he'd have changed the whole team on Sunday and put them in, I'd have been quite happy, because they just seem to work. And I'm just like, that for me is the biggest change that Brighton have had in the last 2-3 seasons, where I don't think before we would have been able to even consider dropping we wouldn't have had a team of best players to drop, to be fair. So, you would never have been able to make 7 changes like that and then gone to the game and got a result out of it. So, it was fantastic. it got what we needed, and it was another little, I don't know, just another little notch in that you can do this. You're good enough. We can do this. Get a couple of players in over the summer, and who knows what next season brings. It's fantastic. It's exciting. Teams like Brighton are not supposed to be winning like this. The whole setup is set up for the top four. It always has been. It always, that's what it's been set for. That top four has created such a gap that teams like Brighton and Spurs aren't supposed to get anywhere near them. And I think that's changing now. I think the squads are getting better. The players are getting better. The stadiums are getting better. Everything is now, bringing us all back together. And I think with Chelsea and Arsenal this season going to have to go into transition and get rid of half their squad and start from scratch again, there's an opportunity there next season. So, yeah, bloody excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to see some of these players that they have been sat on the bench for a while. We have been sitting there waiting for them to come on and have a game and got really no clue who they are and what they do, and then suddenly there they were, and they just grabbed their opportunity with both hands, and they were brilliant.
Yeah, very true.
That's your call. Surprised by women's football.
There we go.
I was kind of hoping you'd forgotten.
I never forget, but I do. I sometimes do think I can't think of an awkward question for a minute. So this might not be as awkward as I think it might be. Obviously, the game a game against Arsenal, we play well, get the draw. I think everyone was very happy.
Yep.
Do you think there was anything from having to play on the weekend and then the game against Arsenal, or the combination of both, that meant we were a bit off it for the first 20 minutes against Liverpool? It's a thinker, isn't it?
It is a thing.
It's a thinker.
Possibly with a couple of players. I mean, the one that we've all said did look quite tired at the weekend was Charlie, and she did play 74 minutes with Arsenal. So potentially, could she have paid less? Could she have been subbed off at the weekend? We drew 1-1, so what do we know?
Yeah.
So yes, but equally, playing the team that we did, I think gave us a really good idea of some of the other players and what we do have. Because I know I was looking across, and at one point I sort of went, do you know what? Yeli Chankovic is having a cracking game. There's been some brilliant shots, and I remember she's not playing, and that was Olaug. And she did have a cracking game. Also, I have booked in to see the optician. But
Coincidentally.
Yeah, coincidentally. But no, I very, very possibly. If we had not done so well on Sunday, we might all be sitting here going, "Well, that's because we played against Arsenal on Wednesday," and and we did play them. It wasn't a go out and have a little bit of a run around. But then you look at the person that scored our winning goal, and she played all 90 minutes on Wednesday.
Mm.
Yeah.
And is that why she was able to come on in the 90-something minute, slot straight into the team and go, I'll have that ball, thank you very much, put it in the back of the net? So, maybe it did play to our advantage. I think that's been the most awkward of the awkward questions so far, Duncan.
It was up there, yeah. It was up there. It was a thinker. Yeah, I think you could probably point to a few things that might have helped, and also a few things that might have hindered. I mean, I suppose what makes it awkward is it's a bit of a hypothetical, because we'd never know.
Yeah.
If we'd have played players more on Wednesday or less on Wednesday, what impact it would have had. But I was just interested to get your thoughts on it. But I know, Ben, I think, Abby and Claire have both sort of spoken about it, but I think, maybe you can go into it with even more depth. The fact that as a team, as a style that we play, we were able to bring in, I think it was 7 different players, or 7 players who are not usually in the starting 11, do get substitute appearances, but certainly there were a couple who don't start a lot, and there were a couple who, you know, get game time, but you know, they're not normally out there on the field too much. You know, it says something about the sort of style that we played, that they were kind of able to almost fit in, and you could kind of go, well, it's still Brighton, it's still us. You know, exactly what Abby said about, oh, Yelena, and then realizing it's not Yelena. That says something about how the style is imbued in the team, right?
Yeah, I mean, 2 words: Puka Sonoda.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, again, as I said about Nadine earlier on, that she sort of bossed it in the sort of kind of almost like a hybrid Fran Kirby, Maisie Simons role. Again, I mean, Fuka came in and she was absolutely out. I mean, there's a little highlights video that they put together of her little moments. Obviously, the goal was amazing. Yeah, just nips in there instead ahead of Raspberry Pavlova, and just hammers it in. It gets a bit of a deflection, but that was going in anyway. But yeah, there was this little drag back she did, and I know she did it for me because it was right in front of me.
And she went
and
like
it was, and she was, again, you know, she started 2 games and she scored 2 goals. Because obviously she got our goal against up at Villa, which should have been the winner. And yeah, just, you know, you wouldn't know that she wasn't an everyday starter. And you'd think, you know, again, watching Nadine, you'd think that Nadine was our usual playmaker, and again, and you know, as you know, a first really good proper look at Ulag, and again, you know, actually, there was a moment in the game where Ulag got it down the left, and she sort of had one of those sort of speculative sort of, they always call them cross shots because they get quite close to the goal, but it was a cross. I suppose it might have snuck in at the far post. And I could hear Dario shouting to her, "Back yourself, you know, take her on," you know. And so, you know, that again, the confidence that Dario's got in the players in the squad, that he knows he can put these people out, and they just slot in. It was fantastic. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, you know, Ruko's just like, we've got 3 Japanese players. They're all adorable, but I think, you know. Again, I think someone said there was some marketing that went out from the team with sort of her looking really. They sort of photoshopped the picture somehow, so which made her look really quite old. You know, literally, she's not even 21 yet. And I forget, it might be you that said they've managed to find the only picture in existence of her without that massive smile on her face.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, because every single press photo they must have of her, it must be of her smiling, but they managed to find one where she wasn't somehow.
Yeah, so, you know, again, I mean, as Claire said, we're going toe to toe with Arsenal, with not necessarily our starting lineup, our usual starting lineup, and you know, I don't think as good as them, weren't we?
I don't think anyone would have had any problems if a couple of those players had suddenly appeared in the Liverpool starting 11.
Well, and again, I mean, that was people like Huka, and Nadine, and you know, and Ulaug and stuff saying, look, Dario, you know, I might not start on Sunday. Saturday, no, yeah, Sunday. I've completely lost track of days.
Yeah,
I might not start on Sunday, but you know, you might need me on 70 minutes or something, or you know, if you want to make a sub on, you know, if something needs happening in the team, then I'm your girl, kind of thing. And that, yeah, that's what you want from your players. They get an opportunity, they take it, and they give Dario that selection headache, but also they give him, you know, an option that they know that if we needed, you know, somebody in midfield to do this, that, or the other, they can bring Vuko on and not have to worry about it. So yeah, and I think the great thing about that game as well, I mean, obviously, the fact that we drew 1-1 with them meant, because obviously to get the title, to win the WSL, they had to win all of their remaining games and hope that Man City dropped a point or 2 here and there. the fact that we took some points off them meant that they couldn't win the WSL, which is really quite satisfying. But the most satisfying bit of it is that because we'd beaten Man City the week before, or a couple of weeks before, we'd given Arsenal hope that perhaps they could win the WSL, and then we took it away.
And we dashed it.
Because I think, as Claire said, I don't really go on the socials quite to the extent that Claire does to see comments and stuff from various people, but I think there's a certain element in there, or element in their fan base that, they're presumably the North Bank Ultras or something like that do that ridiculous 1970s, ooh, your SH1T, whenever the opposing goalkeeper's got the ball. And it's just, and like I said, we always talk about the family fan base and things like that. And it's not, SH1T isn't the worst word that gets shouted on the terraces. But it's not a great word you want your young kids to be hearing. And when there's like a crowd of a few hundred people down one end of the pitch shouting that on a Wednesday night, you're sort of thinking, where's that family atmosphere that people were talking about? So it's not great.
I think that's the
and
concern.
It's so 70s.
Yeah, that's the concern for me about fans from the men's game coming across. Like, yes, we want more fans, but we want the right fans because, like you say, that to me, what happens, and it's only the Arsenal fans that do that.
Well,
it's
Chelsea
just
do
not
dodgy
classy.
keeper. They just do the 70s. But they
I don't mind that. Yeah, I don't mind
I find
that.
it quite irritating, but
It's just not very classy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit like, are we still doing that?
Yeah.
But like the last couple of seasons, there's been a few kind of headlines about fans and players and things like that, and it was always Arsenal fans taking pictures of somebody's backside, things like that. It's just no need for it. Do you know what I mean? It's unnecessary. But equally as well, there's a lot of, I suppose, very young fans who maybe this is their first experience of being a football fan, and they are a little bit just OTT about Arsenal and their players and how everybody's against them, and it's all it's just like, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, no, we don't. Nobody. Chelsea, to be fair, Chelsea fans have done it today. I'll give Arsenal a little break. Chelsea fans done it today. Bompastor should be sacked because it's her fault they lost because she made substitutions. And you're like, you were 2-0 up with 86 minutes gone. Like, every manager makes a substitution at that point. They're wasting a bit of time and they're giving their players an opportunity to get a round of applause from the fans as they come off. That's why they do that. If you're a football fan, you know that. You understand that that's what's happening. To then blame your manager because your team has dropped 2 goals in 5 minutes and then gone on to lose, it's just things like that. It's just learn about the game. If you want to support a team and you want to be really passionate about it, learn about the game and the history of the game and why things are done certain ways and why fans behave in certain ways or don't behave in certain ways, and just stop being a twat.
Yeah, I think the thing is, when a fan base, and I do think we have to be a little bit careful with social media because, God knows, you read some things some days and you think, have I totally lost the plot? And then you go out into the real world and you find out that actually not everyone does want to vote reform and stuff like that. And, whatever your political, I don't want to get it too political, but you know what I mean? It's like there are some situations where you kind of see what you want to see. But what I would say about something like with Chelsea is, if they'd have conceded 2 goals and she hadn't have made substitutions, it would have been, why the hell didn't she make 2 substitutions?
Exactly.
So it's basically, that is kind of the same thing that Arsenal fans have with Jonas, which is they wanted him gone. Yeah. They don't think he's right for the club, or they don't like his personality, or whatever it may be. Not as good as the previous manager is my feeling with the Chelsea fans. Just my personal feeling. I'm not speaking for everyone. But I think it's like, well, we had Emma Hayes, and Bompastor we don't like compared to Emma Hayes. So she's automatically on a downer.
I think it's more a case with the Chelsea fans of they are so used to winning everything.
Well,
and
that's
they
what I mean.
associate that with Emma Hayes.
Yeah.
They don't see that could still possibly be something that goes on further.
Exactly.
But they also don't understand that it's cyclical. Do you know what I mean? Like, every team that's been successful eventually ages out. It's the game. It's how it works. So, and that's where they're at. They have half their team who are in their 30s or hitting their 30s that are going to be moved on, and then they've got a load of youngsters they've spent a lot of money on bringing in who need a time period to transition in and settle, and that's where they're at. And they've got a new manager at the same time, and it's like, just understand the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's probably a lot of Chelsea fans who do feel like that, but obviously on social media and stuff, it's just amplified, and then someone else will like jump on board, and they've got a bigger following, and so on and so forth, and it just becomes a very toxic culture, which we don't really need around the game. But I suspect if you went and just chatted to Chelsea fans at a game, there'd be a lot more support for Sonia than there is online. Might not be lots more support in general, but there would it would be a bit more, balanced. I think that the difficulty with some of these chants and stuff is, I think we want to chant positively. That's our perspective on it. I don't think we can be chant police in terms of like, this is my personal view. If Chelsea want to go, oh, dodgy keeper, is it a bit passe? Yeah, but it's not, there's no swearing. It's not like they're not saying, you're SHIT or whatever. It kind of is what it is. Like at some point you have to go, we can't have everything the way we or I or any of us would specifically want it. But what we could say is, let's not include abuse, which is, why we don't chant about the other teams. Let's not include swearing. Like you can go anything, you can go up to, you can dislike a player, you can boo a player, whatever you want to do, but you cannot go up to anything abusive, and you cannot swear. And I think those are two quite broad things where literally dodgy keeper would be fine. If they want to sit, we're not going to do it, but if they want to do it, they can. But it's not abusive and it's not swearing. So I think that would be something more broadly could be sort of adopted throughout the fan bases, that would kind of be a sort of a soft cap, where it's like, you're not going to have to stop chanting everything you sing. You're not going to have to pick half of them, the ones that are nicer than the others, but you are going to have to stop these two things, which is direct abuse and swearing. And I think that's quite a sensible thing. It's quite, and it's an easy thing to remember as well. Like I've often said about our chanting, is a good rule of thumb for our chanting is we only chant about our team. And we're obviously positive towards our team. We want them to win. So ergo, by not chanting about the other team, we're always going to chant good things. We always want them to come back from a losing position, or we all want us to continue a winning position. So that, again, that's another rule that would be broadly quite good. But I do think there would be some fan bases that would be like, oh, that's half our songs gone or whatever. But it is what it is. And some of it, like we don't like things like football in the library, so we try to avoid those. Do I think it should be no one should sing it anywhere ever? I prefer that they didn't, but they probably will. But I don't. They're not saying you're or like F off, or whatever it may be, or songs where they've substituted in other words for like swear words and stuff like that. Like, so I think that's just a certain amount the fan base has to police itself. And I think it's a little bit of a shame that Arsenal haven't been able to police the fan base enough to get them to stop that. And it's even more drilled in because they literally did it about 8 times in about 5 minutes. And it's like, really? Really going to do that every time? Like, I mean, no times do we want it? Do we want to hear it? But it's like they had quite a few corners in that game, and there was a couple of times where she had kicked it from her hand where she caught it or whatever. And it was every single time. And it was this is getting. I think they were halfway through one when she had to do another one. That had to start again. You're like, really?
I was going to say, I think traditionally it was goal kicks.
I
think only really goal kicks, but it was basically every time the keeper had the ball, every time someone passed it to her, she had the ball at her feet. So it's like, oh, please.
And that's when you need to
like
say,
I said, it's just so, someone who lived through the 70s, it's so rubbish. But But anyway, I mean, I just want to move away from this because it's
of
boring
course.
to talk about other fans. But I just, I must have said this about 40 times yesterday. But I'm just looking at, just remembering where we were sort of mid-March.
Yeah.
And we just got beaten by Chelsea. And we'd just been drawn against Arsenal in the FA Cup. And we were like, that's the season over.
Mm.
We're going to get knocked out by Arsenal. It's not a bad cup run, quarter-final, that's not bad. And then we've got Liverpool and Leicester. I mean, if we don't get anything from those two games, then then that's probably our points over for the season, because after that we've got Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham. Season's over. Might as well just pack up now. And look at us now.
Yeah.
We're unbeaten in 7. I mean, I literally can't remember. I mean, 6 in the WSL as well, which is... Oh, no, hang on. No.
5. 5. So.
No, yes, 5. So it's 5 in the WSL, 2 in the FA Cup. I can't remember the last time we were 5 unbeaten in the
I can't remember the last time we were 3 games unbeaten.
5 unbeaten in the WSL, and then obviously the 2 cup games. We are 7 unbeaten. We haven't been beaten since the 18th of March. It's just, and again, there's obviously, we always seem to have a bit of a wobble over the winter, and obviously we did have the tragedy this year of Dario losing his dad, which obviously that affected the players a lot, and it affected the club, and obviously it meant that Dario wasn't here for a few weeks. I forget how long, whatever. But so there's all sorts of factors to be taken into account with that wobbly bit we had in the winter. But I think Rado's still with us, and the team has just basically come. It's just an unbelievable group of players that we've got, and look what they're doing. It's just if even the fan base was sort of beginning to write off the season, and they just responded to everything so well, I'm getting emotional. My voice is cracking because I broke it yesterday, but it's also cracking because I'm just blown away by this thing. I've been season ticket holder for 5 years now, and I think I might have said to someone yesterday, this is the reward for all those people that watched us lose 8-0 at home to Tottenham and then came back the next week.
Yeah.
It must have been tempting for a lot of people to go, forget this, I'm out of here. Getting beaten. I think we got beaten 6-0 by Man City that season as well. That's Man City. We just got beaten 8-0 by Tottenham, and so I'm out of here. But we came back and we've stuck with them. Again, it's we've come a long way together through the hard times and the good. So we want to get to Wembley so we can celebrate them, praise them like we should.
I think the thing is with when we were sort of looking ahead towards the end of the season, is you're taking into account what's gone before.
Yeah.
And we hadn't really shown anywhere near this run of form before. But I think there's like you say perfectly correctly, obviously with Rado passing away and Dario having to step back temporarily, and that's no disrespect to Chris Roberts, because he had we won at Everton with him. We should have won at West Ham when I think it was at the game Dario was back, but he wasn't in the dugout. I can't quite remember whether that was the cup game. I can't quite remember, but he was in charge of that one as well. So it wasn't like we sort of capitulated or anything, but obviously you're looking at those the top. We were going to end up playing 4 of the top 5 teams. Tottenham were in a vein of form back then as well, so you're looking at guaranteed 3 of the top 4 and the best of the rest. Obviously Tottenham have kind of gone backwards a little bit.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, and then we get the result against Arsenal. And then it's sort of, then we know we've got a semi-final, and then everything starts to pick up. But I think what I'd say is even before the situation with Rado, was Dario was constantly saying about how he couldn't pick a regular team. He was constantly having to chop and change. Like every time he would feel like he got a settled unit, he'd have to someone might come back, but then someone else would get injured. You know, we started the season without Manu. We started the season without Caitlin for a few games. You know, and then Moeka was injured for a few games. Then she has the Asian Cup, and so on and so forth. So it was almost like at some point, I guess, probably after the Asian Cup almost, we had a lot of players that were fit, and there wasn't any more international competitions or anything coming up. And it's like literally, it was almost like we started a new season where we went, right, forget everything that's happened before, because we were never 100% us so far. Now we can go full ball. We've got most of the players are back. Certainly all the first 11 are back available. We've got a subs bench full of first team players. No disrespect to the youngsters, but we've got more options now. We can play the same team. I think it was like the first, I don't know which game it was the first time he was able to name an unchanged 11. That hasn't happened hardly ever this season. But even when we have swapped one or two players in, because of, you know, the team and the teamwork that they've built, now it doesn't seem like we've swapped a player in. You're just like, oh, that it's the same player almost. They just look a bit different, you know. Whereas earlier on in the season, when we would have to suddenly bring in like Mylese, who would just back from fitness because, you know, Moeka went out for a couple of games or whatever, it was totally different because you're dealing with Moeka settled in really quickly and well, so that was great. But then you're having to bring in Mylese, and then Mylese kind of popped in for a cup of coffee and then was injured again, and so on and so forth. And it just never, it never. I'm doing David Brent hands. If you're listening via audio, I'm doing David Brent together hands. It just never. But then now with this run of form, you can see when we've got the majority of the team fit, when everyone knows what they're doing, when they all know each other and they're working hard for each other, when we've just got kind of one goal in mind, which is win the next game in front of us, we're doing it. You know, so I really hope, you know, one of my big hopes for next season is that we don't lose too many players, and essentially we do what we have done this at the end of this season, carry it into next season and go, doesn't really matter if you have to replace one or two players here or there. We're Brighton, we play this way, we don't change. And that will only happen if it's, you know, incremental changes here and there. If we are to lose 6-7 players, then I do worry that we kind of almost have to start again, which I think would be a shame. So hopefully all the players, please sign new contract, and then we can crack on.
Looking at you, Major Simon.
In particular, yeah, definitely. So anything else on Arsenal? Anyone wanted to bring up? I did mention the penalty incident / Kiko non-one earlier, so I won't go into that again.
I think it is just worth mentioning for Sonoda again.
Yes,
just one last time.
Player of the match, deservedly so.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, deservedly so. When you see her play like that, you can see why she was sort of, or has been earmarked as the next Hasegawa type player. And in a way, that's not fair to her because, you know, she's her own player. She's, you know, she's different. She'll get respect in her own right. But, you know, being compared to a player who I think any team she would immediately be in their starting 11, playing every game in Hasegawa, to be kind of compared to someone like that as, you know, we think you can get to that level and who knows even better. You see her play in that Arsenal game and you think, yeah, I believe you.
It's just actually, there was, I think, I can't remember if it was the drag back, so we probably ought to move on, but it just always got this massive smile on her face, but there was just this sort of knowing look in her eye. After she'd done it, she just looked so pleased with herself and so sort of, did you see that?
That's what I can do, Dario. That's what I can do. I think that's probably it. I don't loan report. There's no loan report this week, is there?
Well, there's a bit of one.
Oh, there's a bit of one. Oh no,
we've got another game on Saturday. We probably ought to do one.
Well, hang on.
Yeah, we've got another game, but all the WSL 2's finished, isn't it now?
The WSL 2 has finished. Yeah, let's talk about Spurs and then we'll go for the loan report, the very quick Scandinavian loan report. because everyone else has finished. Yes, so Spurs Saturday. Remember, everyone, Saturday, because we keep flip flopping between Saturdays and Sundays at the moment.
Track.
I know, it's crazy. You're thinking you come off like this 3-game week, and then it's only 6 days until the game the following weekend. So I quite like it in a way, but I couldn't do it year round. So don't get any ideas, WSL. Like, we don't need 20 teams in the league just yet. But yes, Spurs. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff, I believe. Again, just to confuse the hell out of everyone, because we've had loads of 1 o'clock kickoffs this season, haven't we? Not. It's pretty much always been 12 o'clock for us, because obviously we're not on the TV so often. But even then, it's been 2 or 2:30, and then we had 12:15 at Liverpool. So yeah, just to confuse everyone, Saturday 1 p.m. is the kickoff. If in doubt, make sure you get there early. As Abby did, I think, a couple of games ago. Got there a bit early for one of the games, didn't you? Was it an Eastbourne Borough game?
It may have been Eastbourne Borough at Lewis on Mother's Day, and Mother was convinced it was 12:15. We were there before the players and the officials, and before even they'd actually opened the game. This very confused steward sort of looked at us. I said, "Why are you here?" We're here for a football game, and he was just like, "I thought for about 4 hours." So it was very pleasant, sat outside Lewis Stadium for all that time.
There's worse places to be sat outside. That's
very
true.
Much so. Very much.
And also, if you do that at the Amex, I think the terrace and the mega store will be open, so you'll have options. So that's nice. So I might as well start with you, Abby. How excited are you for Spurs? Does it take on a different kind of context knowing that we've got the final afterwards?
Yes, a little bit. I just want us to stay safe. I obviously want us to win the game, but I mostly want people to have a good game, to stay injury free, not take any too many unnecessary risks. But also, this is a really good opportunity. I think there will be a lot more people going to this game because we've been all over the television. We were all over the television because we beat Arsenal. Then we've been all over the television because we've got a new stadium coming. Now we've been all over the television because we are in the final. So I think we are going to get a lot of eyeballs on this. We're going to get a lot of people there because it's in Brighton. So we need to do good football, have a good game. And if we win, then I think points-wise, not position, but points-wise, I think it is our most successful season. So yes,
to achieve. So do you think that's? I know, obviously, again, you have to put it in context now that we've got the FA Cup final. But do you think that is important to not always be all about exactly where you finish in the league or exactly how something happens?
I think for me, it's not about where we finish in the league. It's about finishing the best position you can every time you play in the league.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of a league. Like, you don't play going, well, we're aiming for 12th or we're aiming to not be 12th. Like, that's not ambition. We finished last season in our highest position ever. This season we'll be one down from that, but we are potentially going to have more points and a positive goal difference, which is just unreal. When, like you say, 2 seasons ago we were getting banged 8-0 by Spurs. This is Spurs again. It's at the Amex. I'm pretty sure the entire East stand is now sold out. Never had that before. The North stand is open and that is selling out rapidly. It's going to be over 10,000, potentially 15,000 people at this game alone. That is unreal. And that is all because this run of games, as Abby's just said, have put such momentum into getting us in the news, getting us talked about, not just locally, but nationally. Everybody is talking about Brighton, whether it's about the stadium, whether it's because we've beaten Man City, whether it's because we've knocked Arsenal out, whether it's because we're in the final. Like, it's just all positive. And I think sunny weather, everybody's looking at that and going, let's have it. And they've booked themselves a ticket. It's just unreal. Who knows, by Wednesday, you might have the entire North stand filled. Because I'm sure as this starts to fill up now, they'll start opening the next section and the next section and the next section. I mean, can you imagine it? 15,000 people at the Amex to play Spurs on the last game of the season. That's phenomenal, you know. So yeah, I think if you're getting that many people turn up to watch the game, you've got to go out and you've got to play and you've got to put a performance on. You've got to prove to them that they were right to come out, because then they don't usually. This is going to be 10,000 extra people potentially that do not normally come to a game, and you want them to come next year. So you've got to put on a show. And I think Spurs are probably on the beach a little bit themselves, like they can't finish any lower than they are, so they're playing for just pride really and seeing out the season. And so I think in them sort of games, if you turn up, you've got a chance of really stuffing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think quite a lot of people will have gone, oh, we've got in the final of the FA Cup, maybe I should learn something about the women's game before I try and buy a ticket for the final. So I've no doubt that's had an impact. I know a couple of people have said that a lot of like sort of youth teams and schools and stuff have been invited, and great, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, more voices, more people, more girls nagging their dad. You know, can we go and watch the women's game? I don't want to go to the Amex or whatever. I want to go to Broadfield. You know, or they will just want to go to the Amex next season where we have potentially 4 to 6 games, which would be lovely. I mean, if we could carry, you know, whatever happens in the FA Cup final, if we can get like a record crowd for this game, which I think seems likely, if we can carry that even into the Amex games next season, you know, I think Tim pointed out in the comments that maybe they'll start reconsidering that 10,000 initial limit. You know, but you know, it will start to show them that the appetite is there, and then maybe they do need to put another couple of thousand on that or whatever. We'll see how it goes. But you know, like you say, you know, an FA Cup run and a sort of a marquee game to end the season on a potential high, you know, of you know, our best ever points total. I'm almost 100% certain it would be like our best sort of in terms of goal difference, which I think is really important. If you have a positive goal difference, you're normally going to finish in the top half of the league. And in some ways, we might be unlucky to finish 6th with the amount of, you know, how well we've done, and especially given the challenges that we've had. Ben, do you see it sort of being, I don't want to say like a celebration game, but you know, do you think that will kind of have an impact? You know, do you think everyone will kind of be a little bit more? I don't think anyone would have been tense because there's, like we're saying, there's not a massive amount on the line per se, but it sort of feels like a good opportunity to kind of get new fans in before the FA Cup final, you know, kind of get everyone on board and together and, you know, to push on towards that final.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, yeah, the big word is momentum. I think that Claire said that you know, we've got this momentum, as I say, unbeaten in 7 and that kind of stuff, and we want to keep it going because you know, we want to get used to this feeling, and we want to get used to the players doing what they do and doing it, you know, like they do it, because then they've got a couple of weeks to sort of get themselves ready for the blinking FA Cup final. So yeah, I think you know, I think Charlie said in the comments earlier on that he wishes Dario would celebrate more, because basically, you know, I mean, you know, he said lovely things about Maisie, but then they were like, so what about the final? He's like, we've got Tottenham next week. You know, they can celebrate, you know, on the, you know, I think because they flew sort of up and down to St Helens. He said, you know, on the coach, on the plane, they can celebrate as soon as we get back to Brighton next Saturday. So, you know, I think he will basically be trying to force them to basically, you know, to treat this like any other game. This is, you know, it's sunnier than it was in February, but this is just the same as a game in February. You know, and again, you know, the liar says he doesn't look at the table, but he's going to be telling them not to look at the table. And yeah, it's as important to beat Tottenham this weekend as it was to beat West Ham in February, which we didn't do. So yeah, I think, you know, they're going to go in and they're going to try and win, and again they're going to try and keep the momentum, keep making Man City worried about them, and and that what follows from that is a big party, which I think it will be a party. And again, I think result, regardless of the result, it will be a big old celebration. And I suppose in a way, it's a shame that it's at the Amex and there will be, a record crowd there, because we kind of like having them to ourselves. And especially on the last day of term, they might be talking to some other people. It's like, but it's great that it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to share them with people, isn't it? Because we want them to be loved by the city of Brighton and Hove, and we want them to be properly adopted by the city of Brighton and Hove, which I don't think they really are, but playing in Crawley. And so, as Claire said, I think kids going along, people going along, going, oh, actually, I rather like this, and there's a lot of women's sports fans in Brighton, in the Brighton area and stuff. That's, the success of the crossbar is showing, and so maybe they don't always go to the football. Maybe they like watching football, but they don't think about going to see it. And they'll come along and they'll go, wow, that was a great day. And so next season they'll come up to Crawley. I think it's going to be a lovely afternoon. I think win or lose, but I think we all want them to win, don't we?
Yeah.
And Tottenham, I don't know if they're on the beach as such, but they have tailed off quite seriously over the last few games. They've got 5th sort of sewn up, so they haven't got anything to lose. But we can technically be caught by London City. They've got, I think they're at, I can't remember if they're home or away, but they've got Aston Villa this weekend
at home.
So it would be nice if Villa could do us a favour and at least take a point off them, so that they can't overtake us. But yeah, if we win, then we can't be overtaken, and it will be record points, and more points than we've ever had, a positive goal difference, and the FA Cup final. I mean, if that's not the greatest season that any Brighton and Hove Albion team has ever had, I don't know what is.
Yeah, there's an argument there for sure.
That's up there with that's up there with with the men's team qualifying for the Europa League a couple of years ago. That's that's up there with 83 in the final against Man United. I mean, I said to someone or something I might have put on a WhatsApp earlier on, that basically listening to Joe this morning on BBC Sussex, sort of the intro was the commentator, or BBC Sussex commentator, over describing Nadine's goal, and that was, for the older listeners out there, that was a Robbie Reinelt moment. That was Stuart Storer scoring the winner at the last game at the Goldstone, and that was Robbie Reinelt scoring the equaliser at Hereford to keep Brighton and Hove Albion in the league and keep Brighton and Hove Albion in existence. It was kind of almost on that level. It's sort of, obviously we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Robbie Reinelt, because Brighton and Hove Albion just wouldn't exist had they dropped out of the league that season. And in a similar, obviously it's not as drastic or existential, but in a similar, if Nadine Nadordam doesn't hammer that ball into the top left-hand corner, we're not, Brighton and Hove Albion isn't going on to the first FA Cup final. The first FA Cup final for the club since '83, and so it's
it's a momentous occasion for sure. I think the players will want, because it's at the Amex, I think the players will really be motivated to go out and win that game. I think because they know how important the fans have been throughout the season, and I think they will not want to sit, or they will not want to play in front of potentially 10, 15,000 fans and let them all down. I think they will be very much aware that they will want to put on a show for us. And I think at the stage we are, that's not going to make us nervous to the point where we don't play well. I think it will buoy us to the point where we are just like fearless from minute one, in front of your own crowd, roaring you on, so incredibly proud of you getting to the FA Cup final and kind of overcoming all these obstacles. I think they'll be at it from minute one, and I'm not going to reveal my prediction, but I suffice it to say, I don't think Claire's going to be a far wrong. I'm certainly not going as far away from Claire's prediction as I normally do. Let's say that, because I honestly think I don't. Yeah. I think however you want to say it, on the beach, or they've dropped off a bit of form, or they can't go up, they can't go down. How bothered are they really about turning up in Brighton and spoiling our party? I think they could care less, to be honest with you. Whereas I think our players will want to light that fire under us, will want to send us off from the season ready for the FA Cup. I think they'll be very much aware of that, and
I think we used to talk about the big stadium hoodoo. I think they've sort of tackled that now.
Yeah, I think so.
And as for Fran, we were talking about relying on Fran and Yeli Chankovic as the big game players. After this Sunday, they're all big game players now, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
100%. After this run of games, like you say, 6 weeks ago, or however long ago it was, we all sat there and went, we could be down in 9th by the end of this. Like, this is not looking good. And they've proved everyone wrong, and they've gone out and they have beaten. If we beat Spurs tomorrow, other than Chelsea, I think we've taken points off of everyone in the top 5.
Yeah.
And that is just, and that's all within like one after the other, literally one after the other. It's not, we nicked a few points in January, took a couple in February. One after the other, every single game. Now that has just got to have built confidence. And like Ben said earlier, momentum. It's massive having momentum like that. You just got, because for you, your own personal thing is, well, I want to make that 8 games. I want to make that 9 games. I want to start next season with everyone talking about the fact that we're 10 games unbeaten or whatever, 9 games unbeaten,
Yeah. Including the FA Cup.
Absolutely.
There we go. Right. Well, I'm going to come round the horn and find out some predictions. So I think last time I left her till last, so I think it's probably best if we go first this time. There we go. Coming soon to Spotify. I've got a good feeling about this, Claire.
I've got a good feeling about it, mate. I'm going 4-0.
Going 4-0. I love it.
4-0.
I love it.
Come on.
4-0.
Let's have it.
Now, my decision is only whether I go higher or lower. 4-0. Okay. Yeah, I love that. Ben, I'll let you go second on this occasion.
Oh, I'm probably going to apologise then, because I think you might have been about to say 3-0. And actually, funny enough, Charlie's just put in the comments that they haven't been all that. They've done what we should have done this season, and they've beaten all the teams below them.
Yes.
When they've come up against the big girls, I think they drew at home, drew away at Man United like we did, but they got thrashed by Man City and Arsenal and Chelsea. I know, beaten by Chelsea, thrashed twice by Man City. So they're not great against the good teams, shall we say? So yeah, I'd put 3-0, I think.
Yeah, and I think you could also sort of caveat that with even when we haven't beaten the top teams, there's still this phenomenal stat that we haven't lost to anyone except Chelsea on that blip of a game that just was not like us at all. We have not lost to anybody in any competition by more than 1 goal. That is incredible. That's an incredible stat. And I think that's part of why maybe, things have flipped around, is because they started to get the wins, and then they were like, well, we were so close the whole time.
Yeah.
Now we're on the good end of it. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely an area where you could say, Spurs have been a little bit more consistent in the fact that they've been beating the teams at their level and below, but they've not been challenging the top 4 so much. We've been challenging the top 4, but we've had some stupid results like West Ham and stuff where or Villa. I mean, Villa have looked totally devoid of anything for the last 2 or 3 months. Yet I think did we draw at home, or I can't remember. We lost
Nil
them
nil.
away.
Nil-nil, the first game of
0-0.
the season.
So we only took 1 point off Villa, and that's why we're not up above Spurs.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it gives me a lot of hope. Abby, so 4-0 and 3-0 have gone. As I always say, you can go for the same as someone else if you want to.
Come on, Abby.
I guess
What you doing? What you doing?
I think 2-0.
2-0. Okay. This is what everyone did last week with. I can't remember. It must have been the Liverpool game, surely, which meant that I had 2-1, which was incorrect. But it was a 1-goal swing.
You had 2-2. No, you didn't. You had 2-1. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game.
I like the fact that Abby has taken notes.
I know.
She's not going to lose a game if she's put a bold prediction in.
I was correct at Arsenal. Let's see,
I do take notes, but I write so many as we're talking that they get buried under loads of other things.
One big blur of words.
I'm going to go. I've got to be different. I'm going to go 3-1 because I think it's more likely we let one in than we score 5.
Possibly, yes, I could agree with that.
Just. If you'd have decided not to go for 4-0, Claire,
you would have had it.
I probably would have had that. Yeah.
Well, you can always go for the same as what anyone else has gone, Duncan.
I know, but it's not.
We'll go for it, and we can play Duncan and Claire says 4-0.
I know, but then I'd have to let everyone down.
Ring.
I'd have to let everyone down when the next game I said 1-1.
And it's entirely possible that Beth England scores a goal in her new home. Who knows?
That's true. Yeah,
that's true. Just that's true.
Get her settled in nice and early. You know, there we go. 8-0. Charlie said would be beautiful. I mean, revenge. That would be a revenge game, wouldn't it? Probably our biggest ever WSL victory as well, I would say, because I think
it would be a massive swing in the positive goals difference as well.
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah.
Are we on 0? I think we're on 0.
Yeah, so obviously if we draw, we'll remain on 0. But yeah, if we win by any amount of goals, we'll go on to a positive. So you know, which is again, I think, a really important little milestone there.
Absolutely.
Traditionally, we've let quite a lot in and not scored that many.
Yeah.
So that'd be lovely if it could happen.
Only the top 4 have got positive goal difference.
Yeah, and I think that's often the case. So if you aim for that, that's a goal that you have in your back of the mind at the beginning of the season.
Score more than you let in.
Shot.
Yeah.
So
scoring more than you let in is how you win football matches.
Yeah.
So you win FA Cups.
It certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. Right. Yes. A brief loan report, as we said. WSL 2 are out of action, so I think it's just the Scandies, is it? You were. What am I looking at? Here we go. Bear with.
Ben on the ball, Ben on the mic, talking women's football every day, every night, from the first big tackle to the last late goal. Ben's got the game, Ben's got the soul.
There we go. Couldn't disappoint the listeners by not playing that. Yes, go ahead, Ben.
Mangy old coat as well. Right, actually, but they're still playing in Scotland as well. They've still got a couple of games left. But I'm going to whiz through this one because Rangers beat Partick Thistle 3-0 away. But Jess Pegram was not in the squad. So let us know, Jess. You all right? Because she was taken off in the Scottish Cup semi-final last week. So I hope that wasn't because she'd injured herself. Hopefully that's just because Rangers gave her the day off to come down to St Helens to watch her friends play football.
We'll assume that.
But yeah, as you say, WSL 2's finished. So Liv Johnson and Eva Milner and Lily Vance have all come home. Again, well, following on from the Jess Pegram news, Melina Lurk in Hammarby. Hammarby beat Uppsala 3-0 away. Melina was on the bench, which I'm not quite happy about. I forgot the name of the other keeper. I mean, that might be a sign that they've come to terms with the fact that she's coming home soon.
Could be.
So they're trying to sort of break in the other one. That's quite likely, actually. But yeah, but I mean, Hammarby is still sort of storming on. So Melina's doing well for herself, although, yes, that's not nice. But more exciting news on the other side of Stockholm, because Olivia Garcia, VOG, actually they're away, so it wasn't the other side of Stockholm, basically scored 2 and assisted the other one, which was the first goal, as AIK drew 3-3 away with Virksjö. If that's how you say it. I mean, they were 3-1 up, so they kind of threw that away a bit. There's some interesting goalkeeping performances, but yeah, 2 goals from OG. So the assist was one of those ones where she passed it to Nora Celine, I think her name, on the halfway line, and then she basically ran straight. I mean, there weren't many players to get past, but she basically ran half the length of the pitch and scored. But yeah, one of OG's goals was basically a sort of 20-yarder, lovely shot, and the other one was again the sort of goal we really need, which was a tap in off the 6-yard line after the keeper had fumbled a shot. So that's the sort of goal we want to see. So great stuff, and she also hit the post, so we're quite close to a hat trick. So yeah, that's about it. Obviously, the WCL 2 girls are home, and Jess will be back in a couple of weeks, and Melina and OG maybe soon.
Yeah, I think both their loans expire, I think maybe the end of June. So it'd be interesting to see with Melina if this is a transition away from her, because she will be there for a little bit longer, or whether it was just, I think that team doesn't strike me as a particularly strong one.
No.
So
game,
did they think, well, she's played in the Europa finals, and we'll give her a game off? I don't know, but yeah, we'll obviously find out in not too distant future what the plans are for some of these players. So that'll be good. One way or another, it'd be nice for some of their futures to be settled. So
Rangers have got they've got Celtic on the 17th, and then they've got Glasgow City on the 24th, and then that's the Scottish season. Oh, they've got the Scottish Cup final, haven't they?
Oh yeah, there you go.
So I was going to say that Jess could come back and watch her friends at the Cup final, but actually, I don't know if that might be on the same. It's probably on the same weekend, isn't it?
There you go.
I have to look that up.
2 cup finals for our players. Can't do better than that. Not in the British Isles, anyway. So there we go. If I've forgotten anything, I do apologise in advance. But we're on the 2 hours 20 minutes, which I don't think is too bad, seeing as again the amount of stuff we had to talk about is.
To be fair, I thought we was going to be here for 8 hours. So
yeah.
I was going to go and get some snacks in a minute, but
we had to sort of curb our enthusiasm a little bit, didn't we? Somewhat, but we've still got we've obviously got the Spurs game, but we have got an interim week where we can all get extremely excited in between.
Go a bit nuts in that week. Go a bit delirious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll be talking about all the ways that we'll carve City in twain on our way to a final.
Yes. We can talk about all the ways that Abby can sneak gluten-free food into Wembley.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We'll be able to talk about how there'll be a programme with our name on it. And I know Tim did mention earlier about the prospect of merchandise. So obviously the finalists do, to my knowledge, get sort of merchandise made up for them. So that'll be refreshing. We've gone from nothing to 1 scarf to 2 scarves.
I'm already poor. I'm going to have to do a whip round or a GoFundMe to get some merch.
I know, yeah. Get Claire decked out like Basil for the final.
To be fair, I might even do that. I mean, you know what I'm like, the war paint will be back on. And, if anyone wants to come and find me during that time, I will paint your face.
There you go.
We will be doing it.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, getting it done.
This is why I didn't sleep on the coach on the way there. I'll wake up with blue and white stripes on me.
There was a bit of William Wallace about it, wasn't there?
A bit of Braveheart. Do love a bit of Braveheart.
Yeah, still. That might be the sort of performance we're going to have to put in to beat Man City. You never know.
I'm up for it.
Yeah, so lots of exciting things to come, lots of exciting things to discuss. I'm sure we will on the next podcast, as well as obviously speaking about the Spurs game. Hopefully, we're not 100% sure, but you might see us at the Spurs game if all goes to plan. I won't say too much, but we may be involved in something on the pitch. It's not 100% yet. Don't get your hopes up. But if we are, then give us a wave and a little cheer. Would be lovely. You know, tell your friends.
Tell your
You know,
friends.
Tell your friends. Bring some friends, first
Bring
of
some
all.
friends. We
Then
don't
tell
want
them.
no mates.
If
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
get tickets.
If they can get tickets, yeah. Well, they might have to open the top bowl if they're not careful.
Well, yeah, it's going
There we
nuts.
go.
Mayo and Baxter.
Wanted 10,000 to break even, so 15, and he's counting the coffers, isn't he? So there we go. So that's going to round off this week's show. Remember, you can find us at SheGulls on X or Twitter, and of course Instagram, run by a friend of the podcast, Steve Gibbs, who I believe was watching because I noticed that he reposted some things on Instagram very quickly after the game. So he was obviously keeping an eye on it. So bless you. You can obviously find us at SheGulls.com, where you've got the match reviews, match results for the FA Cup final, where I talk a bit more sort of personally about the game rather than kind of from an analytical point of view. So it's quite nice to do that every now and again. And obviously, we'll try to keep that FAQ about the FA Cup final. It kind of fits into an FAQ, FA Cup. There we go. As up to date as possible. But any queries or questions, obviously always refer to the club in the first instance. And if you find that either we or the club haven't got the information you need, give supporter services a call. They're very, very helpful. They will know the answer.
They will be very, very busy though. So if
we'll
you
be very,
don't
very
answer
busy
straight away.
Yeah, keep going, keep trying. Try the chat bot as well. That can be useful. Sometimes they're able to do that while they're doing other things. So, any queries at all, anything you don't find covered on the website or covered by your emails and stuff like that, do give them a call. Don't wait, because it might be too late for them to sort it out, in the event that happens. So there we go. You can also find us on Facebook. So just search SheGulls Podcast over there. But whilst you're there, do follow Albion Women Fans for more general Albion chat. Big thank you to our Patreon members, as always, Jess and Ben, for their support. Really appreciate that. Thank you for continuing to support the podcast, and to our anonymous donors, past and present. Thank you for allowing us to keep going and get to an FA Cup final. So long we've been going now. We've actually made it to the FA Cup. We're going to Wembley. I don't know if we've mentioned that.
Didn't mention it. Maybe we should have started talking about that.
Perhaps we should have dropped something in there about Wembley. But there we go. So all that remains for me to say is a massive thank you to you, Ben.
Well, a massive thank you to you.
An enormous thank you to you, Claire.
Enormous thank you back.
And a gigantic thank you to you, Abby.
A gigantic thank you back to you.
And as always, I shall say, this is the SheGulls podcast, powered by Albion Obsessed.
Night River.
Night River.
Good night, Jimbo.